assuming Peter says we're okay. So, okay, let's open the Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Town of Rutland Planning Board. And first order of business is minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as written for March 28th.
A second.
March 8th, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion, questions, additions, deletions? Hearing none, let's see, we're all present. We shouldn't have to do a roll call.
No, you don't need a roll call if everybody's here in one spot at the same time.
Beautiful.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so much for minutes. Item 2, A&R 86 Maple Ave.
Okay, I will go on the record as I am an RDIC member, but I have no financial or anything involved with this property.
And if you want, I'll say the same, plus HPD board and whatever.
CLRPC.
Ware River Watershed Advisory, DCR.
Oh, yeah. You got like...
Ag Commission,
Okay, I think
Open
that's
Space, Rec.
If you're gonna make reference to the plan, if you could just make sure a camera captures it. For some reason, I don't have that as part of the packet.
Oh, PDF?
Yeah, I had the PDF, but it didn't find its way to this phone. So if you can make reference to that plan, if you could just...
All right. Good evening, my name is Steve Ballard from Whitman and Bingham. And we have a plan on Russell Heights Way in Maple Ave. The A&R divides the piece into 3 lots and 1 small parcel to be conveyed to the town. So if you look at the plan, the 3 lots are pretty evident. The little parcel, there's a detail on the left-hand side of the plan. On the left-hand side.
That's just
showing the little
right up
tiny,
here.
yep, because the taking stopped short of the property line for some reason.
Oh, okay, okay.
For Rutland Heights Way.
Yeah.
That would be the state's quality of... we
What
don't
is
want
it?
to touch
Why
the
is that
school.
thing?
It's because this road that was put in
Yeah.
stopped
Should we just
10
show
feet
this to
short.
them?
Oh,
3
I can help you with
feet,
this if you
3
want.
feet, 3.27 short.
So everybody can...
So that it's part of the Rutland Heights property. So they got to A&R it as part of the property.
So we have 3 lots. 1, 2, and 3, and then that little parcel with the detail, if you need to see it closer, on the left-hand side of the
That's got a
plan.
locust map.
So parcel 2 is where the house is gonna be going?
Correct. Yeah.
And what's the purpose for 1 and 3? Is there any at this point?
Well, just because we're subdividing the land and we're gonna extend that road, it isolates that area, so we gave that a lot designation. It conforms to the zoning, and the same thing for the remaining area.
It's the way it's been set up right along.
Right. I'm just wondering if there's any plans for it at this point, other
Not that
than
I
future.
know.
No,
As far as I know, there's only lot 2, but
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may interject, the only thing you should be worried about here is lot 2. Lot 1 and 3 are still, the town's has nothing to do with this project.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. And Rutland Heights Way was accepted as a public way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm curious because it doesn't go through.
I was just gonna ask.
dead end.
I was just gonna get. My next question is: the proposed 75-foot wide access and utility easement. Is that going to be a continuation of Rutland Heights Way at this point, or is that
it's
just going to be during construction and then left?
well, the easement as you see it encompasses the road that's there presently.
Right.
So we put the easement around it so that any future access to get to that back piece would go through there. And at 75 to make sure we encompassed all the improvements that were there.
Especially over here because you're gonna go over the bank and,
Well, it won't, it doesn't. It's short of It's right along that, just outside the,
The bank is to
There's a guardrail
to the
there.
left.
Yeah, I know there's a guardrail. I mow out there, so I know.
Yeah. When you walk it, you got the path around the whole thing. It goes there and up and around.
And it
Right.
wasn't that long ago, I was gonna take a tractor up there to move the thing, but thank goodness, Mike opened the gate. So, yes, I see you have there are 3 lots, and the one you're interested in is gonna be this one here.
yes, lot 2.
But this is just breaking the lots up, 1, 2, 3, and A. Yep.
Yep.
Perfect.
So will you have any interest in the other 2 lots?
The
You
town
want
is-
to purchase
No,
them?
the
No,
town
he's
owns it.
only-
No,
there-
he's just,
no.
he's
That's
just
what I
the
thought. I
plan.
was-
Haber's over here.
I was just asking that question to know if there were any current plans for those 2 lots.
And if I could just jump in on that, so the disposition rather of the remaining lots will be done through an RFP process at some future period of time. The only lot that's been committed to is lot 2, which you see tonight on this plan. The purpose of which is to divide the lots so that Harbor Classic Homes can have property rights for its site development.
And this lot is not gonna be further subdivided?
Correct.
Is that in the? Should it be?
There's no restriction on it.
No.
That's just a question.
That comment's not necessary for this.
It's not, okay.
What's binding the parties is a land disposition agreement, which indicates exactly what land, what area has been sold to Harbor Classic Homes under a purchase and sale agreement. This is not your standard A&R where you would put such a note on it for housing development or anything like that.
That's why I wasn't sure if the owners of the condos or whatever it is, or if it's a rent, do they own they just, the ownership of the land is always under.
It's gonna be a condo agreement where the ownership of the land goes to the parties with some percentage of ownership. The structures themselves will be owned by the parties with some portion of the area free for parking. But the land will be held in common ownership through all the residents, as far as I understand it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe they'll establish an association that will encompass all the people that are there to have a share in.
The ownership.
Condos association, like most people have.
That's
or
how
whatever.
it'll be basically
Homeowners.
deeded. Again, it's just all curiosity for me. I just am.
Yeah, 'cause I was just gonna, if I may.
Yes.
We're going way beyond.
Yeah, if I may
Yeah, I know it
object,
is.
it has nothing to do with the
No.
A&R.
So I'll accept the
Frontage
motion.
and
Frontage and area.
acreage.
Frontage and acreage
And no
that's with
illusionary
the-
frontage. I'm
And
good.
at the moment, this is all still Rutland. If we vote, it's still Rutland. Or is it not, because it says have a prepared by it?
Right, but
Prepared by it. It's not Harbor's
Prepared for,
until they fill pockets.
But I'm still saying, whatever happened to the trail?
That'll be part of the detail plan, I would assume.
Yeah, you'll see that in the detail.
Meaning that you want to be able to still walk the perimeter
I want the residents of Rutland to be able to walk around.
as you can today.
From the standpoint of this, they're just establishing an A&R so they can move
Yeah.
It's
forward.
irrelevant.
I just don't.
What you're talking about is all, excuse me again.
Go ahead.
Is all part of the HPD review board discussion.
No, it's part of planning board.
but not for the 80.
Right now, we're having a discussion.
Yes, we're having a discussion right
I'm
now,
just
and so
gonna
therefore it is
remember,
part of the plan.
Marilyn, you're out of this. The 3 of us, and you're out of this too, voted on that to be changed. I'm just gonna remind you of that.
Changed the,
HPDD was
Oh.
initially planning board control. That was
Right.
changed as part of a bylaw, so I'm just reminding.
I'll
There's one-
accept the motion.
May I look at the plan for a
Yes.
moment, please? Because I only have one question, and it has to do with this little stretch. So which parcel is
This right
the...
here,
Right there.
Thank you.
there's lot 2 and lot 1.
Right, so this is parcel, so this is a separate parcel?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Non-buildable as it
No,
says
no,
down.
I understand
So
that.
it's
I'm just
1 point, whatever.
Yeah.
looking ahead, that's all.
166.
Thank you very much.
Do I hear a bid on that?
Put that parcel up for art and put a
right.
toll gate up.
Yes, a toll gate, there you go.
Oh, I'm not worried. These guys would be free. It's the school I would
Yes.
help to charge
I'll
at 13.2 million a year.
move to endorse.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? My only question is the fee.
We have collected the fee for this.
Yeah.
We collected $500
Oh,
That's the
okay,
fee.
very good, very good.
That's it?
Hmm?
That's
It's a
it?
lot of land, but,
500 per condo?
yeah,
We don't know.
Listen,
that's
let's
later.
just get the
Yeah, get
definitive.
the piece later.
Let's get this done so they can get the definitive plan. That's what it's.
Any other discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
No, I would say that's
Aye.
still owned by the town. The dump,
Oh,
I heard one aye.
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 and I.
Aye.
can we sign it tonight?
If you don't mind, I'd be appreciated to come down to this clarification.
I want to get this thing signed and out of here.
Probably should have voted here.
Mike,
Yeah,
this is the new engineering group, correct?
correct.
Excellent.
Yeah, perhaps introduction should be in order.
Oh, from us? Norm Anderson, chair.
Tim Narwhal, vice chair, also on the RDIC.
Kevin Jardy, member.
Carolyn Sidoti.
And the cantankerous guy is,
None of your business. Charles. It's right there, Charles R. Williams.
So Steve, just one detail on this, as soon as you get that recording from registry, you just get a copy from the file, that'd be great.
Yeah, I
As you
can email you a
cover it now.
PDF too.
Yes.
So you're the engineering firm,
Yes.
and then you did the test pits up there?
I don't believe we did any testing.
Did anybody do any testing?
yes, the previous engineering
Somebody
group did,
did.
if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, can I see this record? Thank you. Testing was done first.
You guys took over for them, if I'm not mistaken, and got all the detailed information from them. It's part of a transfer.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
everything that they did.
Thanks, Ron.
Yes.
Thanks.
I'll let you do the date. I'm afraid I'll sign it in European style. That'll confuse everybody.
Thank you very much.
You good to go?
Nice to
Excellent.
meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Thank you, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, thank you.
Good luck, have fun.
See you soon.
Make it look nice.
I prefer show me the money.
Next item is a continued hearing on a special permit for retail marijuana establishment across from 79 to 87 Main Street. Also referred to as 78 Main Street. Let's
No,
see.
I just got a new one, so I'm not taking anybody.
The application, we have plan, we did the sidewalk
Yeah.
out there to locate at least the building. And we have an engineering report from Quinn Engineering.
Public hearing notice. Let's see, what's this public hearing meeting, postponement application for special permit. You got to that, gone by that?
Oh, that's the second page, right?
There are 5 pages involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the application.
Page 2 of 5. Third line up from the bottom, the what?
The poozed.
Poo-poo.
Oh.
Spelling error, please fix.
Oh.
Page 3 of 5. Item number 3. And second line, it shipped in packages to the facility and will not be allowed to be opened on site. So how are they gonna get the pet stuff out of the package if you can't open it on site?
Yeah, a
Please
package-
change on site to outside.
No, actually, there is a reason for that. I think it's just not specified clearly.
And
You can o-
package
You
is
can
with a
open
K.
the shipping containers, but the containers that the actual product is cannot be opened in the store.
Can't be opened in the store or
Yeah, it's no
outside the
different.
store.
It's no different than say you get a case of chainsaw blades, right? They're all individually packaged. So when you buy the chainsaw blade, you're not gonna take that. You know, this is gonna be
But on-
15.
but on-
Am I right?
On site means the whole property.
So,
So it's not being open outside. I don't know if it's gonna be open inside or not, but you gotta come up with, then how do you,
that's actually in
it's-
the,
it's a, yeah, Norm, you do the bylaws, you know what the change.
it's actually in the Massachusetts bylaws. Law.
They're saying you can't cut the package open and take the product out. You gotta leave it
Right,
in the
but I think
package.
what Dick's saying is that they have to be.
Is any of this marijuana gonna say, let's say, be stored in jars where they're gonna open it out, take it out and weigh it?
No, it comes prepackaged when
All
it shows
totally
up. Yeah.
prepackaged?
Prepackaged.
Right.
And that's what
In
they're
a
talking
crate,
about.
in a box,
Yeah.
but they can't open it at all.
They can't-
I think
they
how
can
we
open
fix
the
this-
box, They can't open the package.
No,
I think how we
What you
fix this,
should-
Dick, is change it from package to prepackaged.
Or shipping containers may not be opened.
Yes.
Or shipping can be opened.
Yeah, I just,
Individual packages may not.
Individual, you just said it. All
All
products
right.
located on site will be shipped in individual packages to the facility and will not be allowed to be open on site, meaning the individual
that.
packages.
all right, there you go, change it.
Individual packages to the facility and not be allowed to be open
and
on site.
packages is with a K, and odor is spelled with
Yeah.
a ODORS for odors. I'm just seeing the spelling
I
errors
was
there.
gonna say, someone didn't do spell check on this one.
All right, and then the budding property is currently being used for commercial use, and would you consider, because Clea had mentioned he owned the house beside it, is that commercial, the house?
It's residential.
If you rent it.
Residential?
Well, it's under the town center, TC,
The land could be zoned.
TC
Is it-
two,
is it-
yeah.
Well, I'm saying the house is,
Rental
The house right now is residential, but tomorrow it could
It's,
be,
it's
abutting
rental
the
property.
right?
so I'm just saying,
It could be
Could be.
anything though.
commercial, residential?
Couldn't it be
But-
either?
So you want to say it always has to remain resident, commercial?
No, you can't
No,
say
no,
that.
I'm just saying that it should, the budding property is currently being used for commercial residential use.
I think what he's talking about is Martelli's building.
No,
No.
No, the little house.
there's a small house right there, upper, heading towards the center of town. There's a house right there.
What if you said that the house next to the commercial property is zoned for TC2 and leave it at that? Because
Well,
TC
it's rental property, so it's commercial.
no, you can rent residential, can't you?
Where are you reading
But
that?
I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
can you
business.
repeat again what it is?
3-5,
And
Yeah.
what,
last line.
I just would say it's in TC2, which encompasses everything,
Mm-hmm,
and be done with it.
yep.
Budding property.
Yeah, okay. Because on the page before, on page 2, the last line in number 6, it says most of the properties around the facility are currently commercial use.
Yeah, which I would agree with.
I don't, so why would that constitute the abutting property to the north of it and not to the rear of it?
Well, to the rear of it is commercial use.
Right, the abutting property is currently being used for commercial use. That's how I read it, as the abutting property, not,
So the one going towards Holden is residential.
So one of the abutting properties.
Is this,
So that's why I say you, commercial/residential, that's all I'm
The abutting
saying.
properties, if you were to pluralize it, because you're
Yeah,
talking
but
about.
couldn't you
multiple
fix that whole
properties.
thing by saying the abutted property is currently within the TC2 zone?
You
And
could
be done
change
with
it to
it?
something like that. Sure.
And then you don't have to worry about residential, commercial, or anything.
All right.
That's how I'd fix that.
And I take it on 4.5, number 2, all local and state permits will be obtained. Do we have copies of that? Does this board maintain copies of everything to make sure everything is?
Therein lies my question, Dick. Does the, and David, I'm not expecting you to know this, but does the automated system, whatever I forget it's called,
E-system.
E-system, have the ability to do that?
Right, so what happens on the viewpoint
Viewpoint, thank you.
software is that when the applicant applies for a building permit, that triggers a review from various departments, at which point those various departments can hold the permits if there's a good reason to do so, or can indicate that it should be approved. So the overall relevant permits, at least for the purpose of the building permit, get captured there. In addition, there's other permits that the building department has to take a look at and weigh in on. So there's reviewers for various types of permits.
But the bottom line is the building permit should not, to your point, Dick, should not be issued before all of those other permits are within, or what's the word I'm looking for, recorded or within the system?
Obtained,
Or
yes.
Obtained, thanks.
That's correct.
And do we
Okay.
have, do we keep a copy in our file?
is that a,
Because this is all part of our special permit, and do we keep a copy of it? We should have copies of every permit
agree
that's
with you.
needed.
Should be in the book at least.
Yeah,
If it's in viewpoint,
yeah, but I don't.
Problem is, we don't have
but
access to that, that's the problem.
It's hard to
David's-
get access, and the best thing to do is to have a paper copy
have
sitting,
we
or
been,
something.
has that been a criteria
a little
before?
early
We-
for that.
Collected?
Try,
Pardon me? I didn't hear.
with special permits, I thought we tried to have a copy in file.
I don't think we have anything in our regulations that requires them to furnish us a copy.
I think Norm's right.
There's a million permits for this, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. What permits are you referring to, like the ones from the CCC? Just building permits, or?
Now, it says all local and state permits.
There's a million permits for, for
Right.
marijuana.
Norm, through
And-
the chair, this is where my problem in lies is, and this is what I've mentioned many times over with the ag bylaw. Who in this town is the holder of these permits? I like the viewpoint system, as if that could be the holder, and I'm not feeling that's happening.
Yeah.
I'm not getting that warm fuzzy feeling if that's happening. So, I
As
guess.
far- Oh, sorry.
No, I just, it's to Dick's point.
Right.
I really want to know, and maybe this is from the building inspector, it's not from you, not from us, but from somebody, and I'm guessing it's a building inspector, who is the holder of all these permits?
I think that's an excellent question, but I don't know that it's appropriate for, we need to discuss it right now, because we don't have any, that I'm aware of, any requirements that we have copies of permits.
But our special permits.
So that could be a business meeting item.
Yeah, but
No, our special
But if-
permit says,
Then,
is that we have to have all the permits in place.
but then,
Am I wrong, somebody?
well,
No.
also see the attached,
Well, I think it's, if I may, I think it's hard to get all the permits before, because for him to get all the permits, it still has to go through, for a building permit, there's gonna double check and make sure all the taxes are paid, right? So it's gotta go through, the collector's office, it's gotta go through the assessors, it's gotta go through all of those offices. I don't know that it would hit, any of the other, it would hit Concom, so as it goes through them, that's where, and then I think it would hit the select board eventually for the marijuana license. So if it's just the marijuana permits and licenses, I don't think it's a planning board for the site plan review.
I don't think we'd have any way of even knowing what permits there are.
right,
henceforth, how can we say everything is okay? when
Well, I don't think
know?
we are, I think that
Well,
we're,
then who
No,
is?
Mr. Chair, can I?
Yep.
please, yes.
So what we're talking about here is the application. we're talking about a finding of fact in the application. The category is a design criteria B. This comes out of the zoning bylaw, by the way. The zoning bylaw has a series of design criteria. So this is number 2. And the finding of fact is not create, well, the criteria is not create a nuisance due to air or water pollution, flooding, noise, dust, vibration, lighting, or visually offensive structures and accessories. That's a criterion. The finding is all local and state permits will be obtained, period. Also see attached documentation relating specifically to the marijuana establishment bylaw, period. So the applicant has provided information, the submittal materials, to show how there will not be a nuisance due to air or water pollution, flooding, noise, dust, vibration, lighting, or other visually offensive structures. If you could please speak to what those mitigation measures are, that would be helpful, I think, to the board. Can you just...
Well, I guess being a dispensary, or just, the 1,800 square foot building, we're gonna have the sign on the edge of 122, and there's really no reason that I could think of ever having to change any of that in just a dispensary.
Well, I think the question is, how is there not going to be water pollution related to the use, flooding, noise, dust, vibration, lighting, or other visually offensive structures or accessories? How is the structure and the site designed to mitigate these things here? And that's what your documentation supplies answers to.
And that
We
would be
did that, and I had, my engineers did it. I haven't read what they did, but they answered all those questions.
They did, I believe.
They
They
did.
talked about the building design being low. They talked about minimal lighting. The use itself is a retail store, so the incidence of noise is going to be minimal, if any, dust.
There shouldn't be any dust, there shouldn't be any real noise other than cars, there's people
But-
walking in and out of it, it's,
Yeah, and I think this is criteria, you have to think of it as broad criteria, it's not just for your particular business. I mean, it could be for a
yeah,
car wash.
yeah, certainly for like an outdoor cultivation or an indoor cultivation
Right.
or a manufacturing facility, there's a whole lot
A whole
more
lot of
going on in
stuff.
those facilities than a dispensary.
And I mean, I guess, in a year from now, if any finding of facts came through that there weren't any state regulations or local regulations met, I think it's the duty of anybody that's an elected official on any board to say, hey, found out you didn't have a light,
But I think your point too, Dave, I think is that this is covered in the original application.
Yeah, I think it's all in the 2, 3, 4 through 11, where the screenings and the reduction of light, it's gonna be fully paved, there's no dirt
Right.
driveways, there's no dust, there's no manufacturing of product.
Well, the board has these documents here. The stormwater was reviewed by Quinn Engineering. This is the actual binder where the narrative exists, and the building plans, and the traffic study, and the other things that
Right.
discuss it. Then there were staff comments to the applicant, and the applicant responded to staff comments. That's more information, more testimony. So you have all these things to take into consideration in testimony. All those things combined together. Is there an issue with water pollution, flooding, noise, dust, vibration? That's what the board's role is to agree to finding a fact that there's no substantial issue here.
For
But
you,
still,
my question
why
is,
was it written? Go to the next page.
Mine are backwards. I stapled it together with
I'm
4,
why
5, 3, 5.
I agree with Marilyn, Kevin, is that I think it's not a discussion for here. We need to go through our special permit and to Dave, what Dave, some of Dave's doing, update the technical way it's written, because obtaining permits and following permits are two different things.
Right, and we don't have any
And-
say
and
over following.
I agree with you, and right now it says obtaining, so we've sort of,
So I think it needs to be
yeah, I agree with you.
reworded.
When you said that, I agree with you. I think we need to update that special permit wording. I think it needs to be done soon, because I'm frustrated again, because we obtain the permits, but nobody tracks it.
Right.
So, not to be a smart aleck, but that's got the Maple Hill whole problem in play right now.
No, I agree with your points about tracking permits and what happens. I just don't think it's
You're right,
here.
legally it's not in there, and I agree.
Thank you.
By the way, you asked about holder of permits, like special permits and all that stuff, that all gets recorded. It's at the registry. So that, just so you, excuse me. You can pick that up online any day.
I'm more of a history person. I want it in town in a book that we've got. I don't care if it's electronic. I just want something here. That's my personal opinion. I don't know what the town's is, but
Is that
mine
a
is-
copy of, I guess it is, then I think we would need to come up with a list of permits you want. For us just to say, okay, provide all local and state permits, how do we know what that list constitutes? That could be,
I
Yeah.
think,
how many did you know what I mean, to put up
Yeah,
a building,
I
no
know,
matter if
yeah.
it's marijuana or if it's a vacuum store, there's either 15 or there's 50. So,
checklist, sounds
I
like.
think we need to revise that statement, and, because we don't need to look at the building, you know, I mean, like the electrical
that's what the
permit
building
and-
inspector does.
Right,
What we do is what Dave said,
They-
and we
these special permit rulings.
we look at the visual, we look at, there's no dust, the stormwater mitigation has been approved. I don't think he can sell marijuana without the state of Massachusetts giving him his license and insurance being in play and his background checks being done.
But we don't need to
The
do
doors
it.
may never open on this, but it doesn't matter tonight, I don't think,
Correct.
right?
Well, I
And is
think
that
it-
a good way to say, you know, I
I
hear
would-
what you're saying,
I would
but
think in the future where it says all local and state permits will be obtained. Why is that on our special permit?
Mr. Chair, if I could once again,
Yes.
that is the applicant's response.
Yeah.
that's
well-
their
The only thing
response.
on the application is,
Then if he wrote it, then maybe we should obtain them.
No,
What we
After
meant by
they
that
get
was
them,
we were
you're
gonna get
okay.
the permits,
Yeah.
because we can't build it without it.
exactly,
I know.
you know, so.
I'm just saying that, you know, I just want to see checks and balance.
No, and I totally agree, but I don't know that it's our place to say that, you know, change this and say that, you know, 12 months after doors open, the planning board requires
Yeah.
full permits on everything, because, I mean, how are you gonna?
To elaborate, so every year we have to renew our license application with the CCC, and we have to provide the information that we're still in compliance with all of the town regulations. So the CCC is checking on us, but we can't get our license renewed unless we have everything required from the town.
Once the building's built, doesn't matter.
Well, and see, that's my tough part is if again, Dave, the electronic software handles all that with keeping all that documentation, all the stuff that's been sent to the registry and approved, I'm fine with that. I'm just not so sure it's working right now. So-
you know, and I do agree with you on that, but I'm just saying, I'm not sure this is the time and place.
Yeah, you're right. For this
How about,
permit,
how about number 3?
Would you say?
One of the things I thought I'd throw in there, add to this, a yearly review shall take place for the, you know, to make sure the traffic, if you have any, you know, any problems,
Is that
how do we-
part of your
how-
review?
a special permit is good for what, 2 years?
Not on traffic.
How long is this?
How long are
permit good
these
for?
good for, Dave?
As long as they make use of it, it's good forever.
Yeah, I don't
once-
think
So
we
it's
have-
not renewable.
Right,
You get the special
Unless it's
permit and
changes.
that's it.
if you change it,
The change, yeah, the use changes.
Okay.
And that would be the police.
that would be on, yeah, on the fire, you know, if all of a sudden you know, the ambulance gets called there 15 times, they're gonna say something to somebody.
Traffic causes a problem, police can
All right.
complain and they can make the building inspector shut it down.
Right.
Oh, well.
Dunkin' Donuts doesn't cause a problem.
Are you kidding?
Trying to get out of there no more.
Oh, yeah.
well,
Who approved that?
by the
site?
order of conditions, the police could legitimately shut that thing down anytime they want when there's a car on the road.
That's
It
correct.
just
There's
hasn't
a
been
million
done
cars
yet.
in the road.
I know, it hasn't been done yet.
Just
But,
pulling out a 56 is like a challenge
Yeah.
of not getting hit.
Okay.
I think, to Dick's point, the one thing that needs changed is design criteria number 1. The abutting property is within the TC2 zone instead of
Properties? Which property are we talking about? That's what my question is, because you're talking
Says
about
the abutting-
Martelli's is directly
I don't
behind it.
think Martelli's is in TC2 because it's set back too far, isn't it?
Does it go to Naquag? I think it goes right to Naquag.
Naquan? Then I agree with you, Kevin, it's all about, that should be properties, you're correct.
And we meant, when we said abutting property, I think we meant,
That's what I assumed it as, but he's right, there's the house you own north of it, and then there's the south, whoever owns, who owns
that's way.
south.
Yeah, not close, that close.
And then I just say use spell check. It's all, there's a lot of errors in here. And since this, is this getting recorded if I'm not mistaken?
Special permit gets recorded.
Yeah, so if this is gonna be part of the special permit, I think we should clean up the verbiage.
Dave write up the special permit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is just the application. Anything else on the application?
So there's no, it says no housing on the property, so nobody's sleeping in the vault.
No.
Okay, just check.
Any further comments on the sidewalk? Okay, are we ready to go to Quinn's?
But the trees are gonna be removed, right?
That was the sign.
Taking those
The
shrubs down.
out.
That
I
was the
thought we had to
recommend.
leave them, but I'm happy to take them out.
I mean, I'm sure they were put up there for a while, but as far as the traffic goes, it makes sense to get rid of them.
MVA sort of said.
Maybe he can replant them in a subdivision.
I was thinking in front of
Can
my
they get, yeah,
house.
can they get transplanted, Clea? Can you transplant them?
I'm sure you can, yeah, I mean, we did it with the,
I don't know, maybe it's worth it for
Excavated,
somebody.
just-
They're nice, but.
Not asking.
Where are the shrubs?
with the big arborvitae's in the front, right along the side of the road. They're talking about?
On Naquag Street?
No, 122.
Right on 122.
122.
Right across from
A.
the Sims building, there's a row of arborvitae's kind of blocking all the equipment that we have.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they're talking about.
Yeah, it was his father that planted them, that's why I feel it'd be nice to transplant them.
Okay. Are we going to the,
Okay.
This is the
I'm just looking,
different-
this is March 14th, and I don't think we have a response from Reed on this. Do we?
Actually, what the board has is the original comments from Quinn. You have a March 4th response from the consultant, the engineering company. Then you have Quinn's response to that of March 14th.
Yeah.
I believe, yeah, so they have the March 14th response, it's the March 4 comments. There's nothing after that, because the items, as you'll see, are resolved with the exception of one item that's being deferred to the board.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
number one.
I'm struggling with that too. What is the overriding factor when I read that? Is it the DEP map?
What are we asking?
Zone A,
Zone A, it
Okay, so
said,
what, he looked at a GPS map, just a regular map that, they shoot down from the satellites. We went out and actually located the stream. When we located it, it was far enough away. It wasn't within the Zone A.
the problem I've got is, it's just because dealing with DEP so much, they've got a line on the map, and they're gonna call that the line.
They
They're
have
not?
to be verified in the field. It has to be verified in the field.
But if it, okay.
It is, and that's what you go out and you pick it up with an instrument, and then you put it on the plan, that's where it is.
I guess,
Okay, wait, it says,
What about the last part of that sentence?
yeah, the last part.
I didn't see it,
Work
so-
requires
Go to the next
approval by
page.
Concom and will be reviewed by Mass DEP.
okay.
Yeah, no matter what.
So in our special permit, we put that in as a
already in
condition, correct?
Yeah, well, this plan, the engineering report will be there, correct?
good idea.
I would put that in there as a condition.
This office defers to the board if the zoning location should be resolved.
I apologize, I didn't see that
Mass
next.
DEP as part of the process, or if the resolution of the zoning located should take place during the Conservation Commission permitting process.
Yeah, I put that in. I'm okay with it then, as long as we put it in as a condition. So the Concom's gotta review it, and so does DEP. So Clea, you could be right then, when they review it.
They'll see it.
Yep.
And all the other items in the Quinn report have been resolved, so
Looks that way.
settles that. 4th.
Oh, if it's all resolved.
Yeah. It's all resolved.
I was curious about the gutters though. Just from somebody who goes in buildings. If I'm walking in your building and I get soaked in a rainstorm in Rutland, I'm probably not gonna be a happy camper.
There's gutters on there. See that big infiltrated gallery? That's just for the roof. Oh, no, it's for the parking lot.
No, yeah, because
For
it
the parking lot
says,
as well.
needs says that there's no gutters on any of the roof.
Well, that ties into, that's roof drainage, it's gotta go to that.
Well, then this resolved is sort of incorrect. Because it says needs has indicated that the roof will not have gutters.
Oh, so then it's gonna fall onto the parking lot and go into the infiltrated gallery.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just saying, if I'm walking in the entrance,
It's a V entrance.
Yeah.
so
also to come off the
It's
side,
coming off the side, so if
Okay.
you're walking
Caboose
straight in,
on
you're
that.
not gonna
all
get
right. I just,
They're about
okay.
free ponchos.
Yeah. With purchase.
With purchase.
Okay.
I'm good, Norm. I don't think we,
The needs. And, let me say, this is just, revised from you.
Yeah, so I had comments that I made on February 22nd, then there's a response letter from March 8th, and then I have a revision of March 18th, where I pretty much have all items that resolved with the exception of this, of a tree plan, a tree planting plan. Given that most of the site is existing vegetation and trees, I just called this up because it was in the special permit requirements. But if the board's comfortable that you don't need to see that on the plan, then that's fine. Otherwise, everything else is resolved.
with all the asphalt and the fence around it, do you really need a tree planting plan? I think my answer
You
is
guys
no.
will probably wanna do something with those existing shrubs there, right? Or is that gonna be,
Yeah, we're
yeah,
gonna-
you'll do some little island or something, right? Or is it gonna be pavement?
Maybe, yeah, just maybe a concrete, curved island or something, yeah, but.
Well, is that dark line, is that state? Is that a state property line?
It should be marked right away somewhere.
Yeah, so basically anything south of that, if you do anything, you gotta talk to the boys at DOT to get any approval to do that.
Right.
So there's just basically about a 2-foot and a 10-foot area that you can do anything that's on your property. The rest is all DOT questions, so, So do we need to?
Just on page 405, when you did.
Yep.
Just to say that, provide the dimension of a typical delivery vehicle. Can you please tell me in 10 years, will it still be 8 foot by 15? To me, that's ridiculous to have something like that in there, because how are you gonna tell how things are gonna be delivered in the future?
It should be something to say that delivery is appropriate with size of facility. Something along those lines.
Than anything can roll in.
Well, yeah, but again, it sort of doesn't specify something that doesn't make sense for today, but.
If anything, it'll go
But-
smaller, because it's gonna be drones and,
Yeah,
Exactly, there's gonna be
Bigger.
all kinds of stuff, you don't know, that there's a truck gonna be coming in for crying out loud, and there's a trailer truck 53 feet long, cause he's gotta head, to Barry or wherever.
Well, and I was
So-
gonna ask Dick on 4 or 5, comments from the planning board number 2. Do we, on the special permit, need to have that as a voted exception? Since we're not asking for a landscape plan? Because it's part of the requirement.
Run that by me again.
On number 2, it says, according to section 10B,
Yeah.
point G3, a landscape plan prepared by a landscape architect is required unless the planning board accepts a landscape plan other than the architect if the board determines the guidelines are met. So I'm just saying, is that something we need to vote on and put into the
Waiver. Just-
special
yeah.
permit as a waiver?
The waiver.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that got in there, because dotting the i's and
Page 4
crossing.
or 5, comments for planning board number 2. You wanna make a waiver right now? comment,
We'll write it, we'll wait until it's written up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just let,
Dave will just write it up
to
that
make
way.
a note or put it in there.
I'm just making
And-
notes.
Number 4 on the bottom of that page. It just says hours. Is it a 7-day week, 6-day week?
7-day a week.
Sorry, open, whole week.
I don't think we have any way of controlling that.
Well, it says the hours are set
Yeah, why
above
does it
and
say
can
that?
appear as condition of approval. I don't-
The hours are limited by the town bylaw.
And the applicant's
Yeah.
also indicated that they're not gonna, that the hours of operation will be between 10 to 9, which is consistent with what the bylaw requires.
Yeah,
Prohibited between the hours of 9 PM and 8 AM. So the hours that the applicant proposes are consistent with how the bylaw
Yep.
controls for that.
yep. I'm fine with that. I didn't have anything else.
Pretty much every.
Carl did a wonderful job as usual,
Oh, yeah.
making sure everything was tied together.
That's March. Need to worry about that one. So,
Do we need to close the hearing?
is there anything more we need?
Is there anybody on that wants to
I don't
talk?
believe
Yeah, I
so.
guess we should ask from the public, forgot about
Yes.
that.
Besides that, there was nothing else that the board had requested for information. There was the reviews from the staff side, from the consulting engineer side. If the applicant has anything else they want to say in conclusion to this, before you go to the audience, of course.
Okay, is there anyone from the public that wishes to be heard on this?
Me, I'm just wondering, the Montelli building now, what is that going to be? Is that gonna be the, just,
It's gonna stay like it is. I can answer it.
nothing is going in there? The Montelli building now, that's on at Naquag?
Yeah, no, it's gonna, right now it's our garage, we work on our
Yes.
trucks in there and
Yeah.
so forth. And Century Oil's part of that building.
Okay,
And it's not gonna change, I mean, not in the near future anyway.
The only thing that's gonna change is the access will be from Naquag, not from 122A. That's one of the things that will change. Because the only access from 122A will be this building. Because there'll be a fence around the entire of this building. So the access to the Martelli will just be off Naquag now.
and so, are we talking, this building is in the Montelli parking lot now? Okay,
In the front, by Main Street.
in the front, and that will be fenced in?
Yeah, yes, or the back will be fenced, for sure. The
Okay.
sides will be against the
Okay.
woods and stuff.
Mr. Chair, before I forget, can we just get the person's name and address for the record?
Oh, yeah.
We are having a meeting after a public meeting.
Do we have your name and address, please?
It's Georgiana Nato, and I am at 8 Central Tree Road,
Okay.
and my property abuts on Naquag, so just a little,
Are you on the corner there?
no, I'm like 3 in.
Any other questions, comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing is closed. Do we want to make a decision tonight?
I think, other than a couple of typos that Dave will take care of, I think the package is pretty complete.
I agree.
Dave, any final thoughts?
If the board's ready, then we'll just, I'll draft a decision as soon as possible after this.
accept the motion to approve the special permit.
I'll make a motion to accept the special permit.
Can I add that with conditions and waivers?
Subject to conditions.
Okay,
Subject to conditions
okay, I'm good with that.
And waivers.
Even a second?
Second. I thought somebody else did.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You have your special permit.
All right, appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, very good.
Good luck.
Okay. We next have a continuation of a public hearing.
Actually, Mr. Chair, this is new for the first time. The last time, that was just part of the pre-application, pre-hearing aspects, so just let the board know what's coming its way.
Sorry about that. Okay, it's not a continuation, it's a brand new hearing. For Muschopauge. This is for Randy Jordan. Make sure I keep these straight. And we have the application, we have taken a look at the proposal prior to this. And I guess do we need to go over the application page by page or no?
I would say no.
We have already looked at it. I don't see a consensus on that one, so I guess we'll just...
What application?
I'll just say, does anybody have any questions, comments, or anything to say about the application?
Like I say, I don't have an application, but I also am a
You
butter
didn't
of
get, oh,
Mr. Jordan's property.
you didn't get the application?
That was in
You
the
didn't get the
packet.
application?
I did, it's at home.
It was in last
I
week.
left it, yep.
Last meeting's packet.
I left it. I brought the marijuana one, but I didn't bring the other one.
Well, I don't have it in front of me, but I did read the two of them, and I thought they were very well put together and gave us a lot of information, and I was impressed.
One question I have is the campground, which I know, David, we had talked about in the pre-conference camping. I just want to make sure that we have clarification as to what that camping is, what's allowed by our existing bylaw, and then more information about what the camping is there. Is it just for scouts? Scouts only, will be offered to other people? Charged for it, not charged for it? If there's events and venues, then does the camping become a place for the people on the wedding to stay?
I remember when we did the bylaw, that the intent was, that was part of the agro-tourism portion. Dave, you can tell me if I'm wrong. The camping portion, that reason we put it in there was part of to enhance the agro-tourism portion of Rutland.
I don't remember it being in the agritourism.
It isn't.
It's not.
Camping is...
That's my question.
No, it's in the ag bylaw, but it was part of, because the ag bylaw was set up to bring people into Rutland, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
So, and part of that was the camping, potential camping
think it was
experience
in
on
there.
farms. If I'm not mistaken, I remember that discussion. Maybe I'm
Yes,
the only
there
one
was
that
a
remembers
section in
it.
there there was a section in there for residential uses associated with the bylaw, yes.
Yeah.
Says in your minutes, we just passed, Judge, found that the camping is a term used in Article 3, Section A8, which states that camping is allowed by right in a residential district with exceptions of provisions of Section 14D.
Now, what is that?
And there is also a category regarding lodging in the agricultural bylaw, which would address Mr. Jordan's intent of allowing Boy Scouts to camp on the farm as part of the earning merit badge.
Well,
And that was in your minutes. That you just
So would that
passed.
change, is my question? Does the camping stay just for scouts?
Scouts.
Could
Scouts
I
only.
wanted to ask a couple of questions and expound on those. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? Is it, how many kids are there, how many, you know, how often are they used, does it go on all summer? And is there a direct tie-in with the merit badges? Are they doing farming merit badges? Or tell us a little more about that.
Randy Jordan, 51 Muschopauge Road. The campsite was put in during the COVID time, was the original intent of that, where Treasure Valley was closed and the boys weren't able to go there. During COVID time, they camped there once a month, typically on a weekend. Sometimes it was a long weekend. And Troop 141 were pretty much the only kids that used it during COVID time. I believe during COVID periods, there was 22 kids. And you always have to have at least 2 mature adults there, but usually there was more than 2 adults there at any one time doing it. During COVID, we met pretty regularly on once a month. The boys were fairly ambitious in regards to making some Adirondack shelters that are in there to get them out of the weather, because they did meet during the winter time as well. They didn't miss a month at all during the winter time. The boys often get merit badges in conjunction with some of the camping that's going on, whether it's cooking or overnight camping and things like that. And then they do farming merit badges, not necessarily in the camping area, but over at the farm that did that. The boys, the summer of COVID that first hit, we actually had the boys always used to go to Treasure Valley for camping for a week. Is tradition that has happened. Treasure Valley wasn't able to do that for us because of COVID and restrictions. We, as the committee members of Troop 141, felt that the kids needed to get out, and they chose to get out, and they used their precautions with their mask and social distancing and did all that. So 141 stayed extremely active during that, but they also had summer camp at the farm where they didn't stay over that time overnight, because most parents wanted them to go home and not take a chance of sleeping close, and they could shower at home and be a little bit safer.
Right.
So we had camp at the farm, and we had, I believe, 18 different merit badges that the kids could certainly start, and 3/4 of them were finished at camp. We had different people come in and help, ranging from farm mechanics to welding to plumbing to traffic safety with some of the cops in town. Things like that happened at the farm, doing all that. That went on for 1.5 years, pretty solid, that pretty much every week. They didn't miss it. Didn't matter how cold it was. We got some fireplaces there for them. It's actually rather enjoyable. People that come to visit the farm often go over there to see that with the kids. The kids take great pride in that. Things have slowed down a little bit now that COVID has been lifted a little bit. We're able to go back to Treasure Valley and go to other areas camping, so they aren't as active there at the farm. It's just an area that we chose to put on the map to make people aware of what was going on at the farm.
That sounds like a great program, and it sounds like you have some definite tie-ins with farming, agriculture.
Yeah, it's space, it's safe. You know, they're pretty comfortable with doing that. We used a lot of bathroom, and we built some showers that are over at the farm headquarters. We have power and water there at the farms. The kids should rough it a little bit more than they do, but it's easier for that. We built some showers for the kids, and they often walk over. They will complain that I feed cows at 4:30 in the morning, that I'm a little bit louder than they should be, and the coyotes are barking, and things like that. But it's all nature. The kids really enjoyed it. And I can honestly tell you that it probably wouldn't have happened if we hadn't had COVID, right? And if you ask in Worcester County alone of how many kids actually met during COVID, Holden has a 2 or 3 times larger Boy Scout event than we do. They did some of that Zoom thing, didn't have a lot of luck with Zoom, because the kids sat there for their schooling all day long, and then they really didn't want to sit inside any longer. And these kids really need to put their phones down, their electronics down, and get outside and get their hands dirty and see nature and open space and all that kind of things. And Troop 141, in my opinion, maybe I'm a little biased, is far more successful today than they were 3 years ago because of other troops really lost some of the interest in it.
Right. Now, is that something that you're planning to continue? or-
It was discussed. My son is 16 and a half, so he'll be
Right.
18 shortly. He still has interest and desires to do it. Some of the money that was put into the shelters, they said, well, are you okay investing in the property for the kids? It's my intention, 100%, that once summer ages out, that the boys are more than welcome to use the facility going forward. And I truly believe if Sumner's local for school, that I think he'll stay involved as an adult leader, 18 plus, doing it. He enjoys it a lot, gets a lot out of it. You take things for granted, that you have a farm son that can drive any piece of equipment, build a shelter in his own, run the backhoe to put the pole in the ground to physically do it. Some of these kids didn't know what a nail was to put a shingle in on this roof, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry, but the kids learned how to do it, and we had roofers come in to help these kids learn how to do it. Was that a merit badge? No, but it's, you hate to say it, but it's common sense, you know, to physically do that and start a fire and things like that. I mean, it would blow your mind of what these kids learned in those couple years, that they really take great pride in that. You know, it's building shelters, it's wilderness management things in there.
Like I say, I think it sounds like it was a great job for you guys. And what I was interested in was how we can, tie it into the agricultural business as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you.
Just a quick question. Do you open this camping to other troops, other than Rutland troops?
Other Boy Scout troops have asked to use it during COVID time. New Braintree and Ocam came over. Holden has asked to use it, but their date conflicted with one of ours. So other Boy Scouts have been in. Nobody else has been in other than that. Some of the Grange have gone over to have a cookout there or something like that, but pretty much it's Grange driven. Girl Scouts have talked about it, but they haven't used it.
You're not trying to create a second Treasure Valley?
No. Well, keep Treasure Valley keeps selling their property, you might have to have something at the front.
Is the site on the exclusion, or is it on APR land?
That might be on APR.
And have you guys filed for that?
No comment.
No, probably should. I would think that would make a lot of sense. Just, and I'm not saying it wouldn't pass. They'd probably let it happen, but I think you need to make sure that if we're putting it in here, we can't approve something that the state might not approve,
We
right?
don't have any,
It's not, no.
we're gonna have trouble, we don't have any state or local permits in this bylaw. We're gonna have trouble with that.
The commissioner's gone now, isn't he?
I don't know if the commissioner's been into the campground area.
No.
What about the wedding? What about?
The commissioner has gone to the federal.
Federal what?
He was taken out of Massachusetts. And he's going to federal, I don't know, with 9 other commissioners of other states. Yeah, so,
I mean, he's got a promotion.
yeah, if you want to call it that.
He was just put on an advisory board. It's not a new job.
So he's on an advisory board for the feds.
Yeah.
What about number 1, the wedding area across the street? Is that on exclusion, or is that on APR land also?
On APR, right?
Yeah.
That's where the old windmill tower.
Oh, well, whatever. You got a wedding with 200 people and they're crossing the street. One thing that might be a nice addition would be on the larger venues, if there's gonna be street crossing, we have and maybe you put it in here and I didn't read it, a detail officer. That would be a recommendation that I would make. We add.
Can I make a comment? There's 5 houses on the street. We know, I'm Dale Perkins, I live next door, that we can count the cars in a day. So it's not like, I think sometimes, if there's a huge event,
Well, that's exactly it. When those big events are there, when all those cars are coming in and out, I think is when you need to have.
Well, that's what the Boy Scouts, I think they've had great training for that. Not that they're the police officers, but they, I think when they do an event, they have it managed in that regards.
Yeah, but the Boy Scouts aren't gonna be at 100 weddings, right?
Well, if they're having 100 weddings, they want to.
That's exactly my point, yeah. I think that's what it says, 100, up to 100 weddings, right? Quite a bit.
The only thing I would say regarding traffic is that I do volunteer at the Conservation District treated seedling sale in April and May. And during the pickup day for that sale, I think we probably have like 150 at least pickups that are made in just the morning hours. And traffic is just not a problem.
Well, the other thing I was thinking, Norm, during the weddings, typically there's gonna be somebody out with parking, helping them park, so they can take care of the traffic issues. That's my opinion, again, because it's not gonna be willy-nilly park everywhere, so I presume there'll be an organized parking support,
There would have to be.
so,
No
That-
white lines painted anywhere.
Usually it's horse droppings for the next one.
aha! That's why he's here, to defend the horse droppings.
Come on, Dale. There's also a line.
Well, that's my thought process. If there's somebody there
Never mind.
supporting the traffic, then I'm okay with that. But my question is there, and I don't know this for a fact, since it's under B, requiring site plan review, is this a site plan review, or does it have to be every one of the events?
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, the whole intent is to make it so they don't have
time.
to do it again.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. I
You
was
do
hoping
it
that was
once
the
and
answer,
you're
because I was
done,
like,
and you fully
100 site plan
encompass-
reviews, please.
No, you fully encompass everything in this one.
Yeah, that's what I thought, okay.
It goes through and then you're good to go. If you change, same thing as what we just did for, if that marijuana retail facility becomes something else, then maybe it constitutes another site plan review because it's a different business.
I think, part of this plan is, future planning, right? We've had 20 weddings in the last 5 years at the farm, not a lot, right? Things have changed. The 100 that's on the list that we have talked about, that's just looking into the future, right? Nick and I had a conversation since this application has come forward, and Nick knows we're working on it. Often there are police there on scene if there's a wedding of some size at night. They know fully what's going on. And I think I'm a wise businessman that I don't want to have a traffic problem of someone getting injured or colliding, that we would work with the police going forward there if need be. But I didn't feel it needed to be in the application myself under both circumstances. Usually one of my staff is parking and doing traffic control. Often we pull a tractor or a hay wagon or a horse across the road, because if somebody's going across, we don't want anybody going. It's a matter of time. They don't go back and forth. So it's a legitimate concern, but at the end, I think it's been handled appropriately in years past.
And for me, it's just the fact that the ceremony's on one side, and you could have 150, 200 people, then receptions on the other side. And it's whatever, a half hour, it could be a short amount of time, but there's a lot of people walking back and forth.
I'm not saying it's necessary, but we probably could put in a condition that, traffic control will be provided at large gatherings.
Be conveyed, last sentence, last
That
word.
traffic control will be provided at large gatherings.
Even in conjunction, it doesn't have to be a police officer paid there if
No,
there's
no.
some cones and, you talk with
Yeah.
Chief Monaco and he says, no, this is fine, but maybe just something along those lines so that it's covered.
Yeah, but that gets back to what I said. Whoever's parking is gonna be doing the traffic control, so yeah, I'm okay with that, as long as we specify that. I just don't wanna get detailed with saying it has to be a police officer.
No.
Right.
I don't wanna go down that path.
No, I don't think it has to be. That was a suggestion or a recommendation, but I think it just needs to be in the document that it's gonna be addressed.
Okay.
Everybody agree on putting something like that in there? Yes.
I don't think it's a big issue, it's gonna be handled anyhow. So Jordan already said it's gonna be handled, so I'm fine with it.
Okay, anybody else, anything?
Do we want to have a site walk on these?
We weren't planning on it. I know, I've been to both of these places, a number of times.
I've interviewed at one.
And I gather
I just look at it differently when you put in for, you know what I mean? The properties, you're changing the use, so do you look at the property just differently? So I just thought a site walk might be not a bad idea. You could do them both in the same day. We've got one next.
I mean, I live in that area, so I drive by there fairly often, we take a shortcut to go home. So there's not an awful lot to see. I mean, you wouldn't be involved.
I've never seen this camp. I mean, I guess I am. I'm just kind of curious about this campground and how that's.
Yeah, I was a little curious about it, because
The structure's back there and the kids back there and events with children, That's why I'd like to actually see this. I'd like to see it, personally.
I'm gonna ask the question, and I'm not attacking you. Did we do that on your application, do a site walk?
No.
Then,
Did anybody ask to?
no.
No.
I wanna make sure
Mhm.
I'm being fair across the
Yeah,
board.
Yeah.
Not just with these applicants, but future ones, so
The-
it should be up to the board, but I just wanna make sure we take that all into consideration.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
I would have. I was ready for it. I think we're doing a site walk on all these other things, 100 weddings coming into this town, 200 with the two properties in the same area of town. Now you have 2 on a Saturday, the same. I think looking at that, if both of these end up being, you got 200-person weddings at both locations on the same day, and then and again, it's a future, maybe that's in 10 years from now. I think a site walk is justified.
So the wedding venues would be across the street from the farm? I don't have the map with me.
Oh, yeah, sorry. No, I think it was just intended, and I don't mean to speak for them, but just the ceremony is.
Out of the 20 weddings we have, they've only had 1 wedding, 2 weddings across the street. Most of them happen off-site and come in and just have, underneath the tent, they
I
have
see.
on the lawn.
Yeah, I've
Again,
seen it too.
this is an application that's a fairly blanketed application. It's just giving the options of what we potentially can and cannot do.
Thank you.
I think the 1 or 2 that were also scheduled to be across the street, it was raining. So we didn't have 2 tents up, we only had 1 tent up on the farms, on the, I guess that would be the east side of the road, not the west side of the road. It's just a possibility, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear. I had it in my mind.
You asked, you didn't say the public.
Well, we'll get there.
Okay.
I don't, regarding the Boy Scouts, it seems to me, the Boy Scout organization has some pretty strict regulations, regarding almost anything that they do. So, I just have to think that they are going to be the ones that would be,
They're gonna be tougher than us.
well, they'd be, yeah, more concerned, more involved, and more knowledgeable, certainly, than we ever would be. So.
I want it to be done right. I want it to be done right. I said at the last meeting, I want Rutland to be known as the agritourism capital of Massachusetts. And I want the Jordan Farm, and I want Lilac Hedge to succeed. I'll be the one to make the motions for both of these. But I do have a question about the APR aspect on both of them. It looks like there's parking there, and in 6 months from now, that could be gone. I'll be the first one to tell you that APR is coming out with new guidelines and new parameters moving forward. Maybe even this year it's adopted. That you don't need special permits for any of these things, but as of today, you do. So approving these today is allowing uses on land that I don't believe we can trump the state on. One question and concern that I have of that, and maybe with a site walk and a conversation with them, then it could be, and that, a lot of times that's all it is a phone call. Hey, is this something that down the road at the end of the year, this isn't going to be a problem? And then we get the answer from them, and I wouldn't be surprised if you could get that. And I wouldn't be surprised if either one of these gentlemen could get a letter stating that APR is currently working on this, and this is our full intent, but as of today, right now, I don't believe that it's,
I don't know if we can see that.
I don't know if you can either.
That's,
Are you saying that it's not appropriate at this time? I'm just want to understand.
Well, without special permit.
Oh,
Again, same thing, you do the exact same process we're doing today, you just have to do it with the state of Massachusetts, not the town of Rutland.
so this board would not do that?
yeah, because I don't think we, it's, I get back to it.
APR has rights to the same land. The same question came up with my site plan approval with parking on, and that's why I had to go through and justify it with the DPW. We looked at all the land records and realized that the APR land doesn't start where we're parking, so there was no, I'm
right.
completely within the exclusion. As
remember
Mr. Jordan admitted, he's outside of the exclusion. And if I know we're ahead on the hearing, but I believe the other one is parking outside unless there's already
I
a
see.
special permit in place with the state of Massachusetts. And maybe there is. We can get to that one when we get to that one. I think it's worthy of a conversation before.
Again, could it be a condition for approval that he obtain any necessary permits regarding the APR?
Regarding that, so what's before the board is just the site plan. Obviously, the applicant has to get all necessary permits in order to operate. But these permits aren't related to each other. It would be tantamount to saying that the board's gonna grant a special permit subject to the applicant getting conservation permits, which you really can't do because there's no connection between them. So the applicant needs to get all relevant permits for something. So I think this site plan stands on its own merits. And it's a responsibility of the applicant to get any other permits that he may need to get.
This sounds like the special permit, Dave, we just did before this.
But this is site plan review. The special permit that's being discussed here is a
Yeah.
special permit from APR, but I understand that APR is looking to change their regulations dramatically to be more in line with what we're trying to do in this town to support agritourism by making it simply just a matter of site plan review, just to make sure that the basics like noise control, screening are accounted for, and that there's some rational basis to just acknowledge the uses. I mean, that's really the gist of it here. I mean, I think, that's all I really have to say about it. I mean, I don't know that you need to condition it in that manner. I think what you have here, so, this is, once again, I'm gonna hold this comment until later in case it's necessary, but if the board, I think someone in the audience wanted to speak to this matter, wants the board more conversation amongst itself.
I can wait.
Do we have any other comments from the board? Do we have any questions or comments from the public? I don't.
George T.
Brice Estates,
Oh, it's all Brice?
yeah. Steve maintains and George, can't pronounce his last name.
Okay. I only see it up there.
No comments? No further questions?
I mean, that's just my, I want it to be,
So,
if the camping is just scouts and there's just shelters, overhangs, is big, I don't, these buildings, if it's not being utilized, and I'm not saying it shouldn't, that, you have a music festival, now you're adding camping to that music festival, and you could now park pop-up campers, travel trailers, those are the types of things that, and maybe it is for a future conversation, but the specifics of camping, the term camping is, to me, very, very, very broad. Is it on tents? Is it just in those shelters? Are they adding tents? Is it?
could that be, excuse me, I'm sorry, could that be a condition that, can we condition the camping to involve the Boy Scouts or something?
I don't know if you want to limit it, because the intent in the bylaw wasn't to limit it.
No.
That's why we put in
I would
here-
rather it was
I-
broader, that's my whole point in this. I would rather that it was more defined as to what camping is within our own bylaw, which it isn't. And then on the site plan specifically, because I don't think the other one had it, but with the camping in there, I want it to be broader. I would rather knowing, what do you consider camping? Passive recreation is loosely defined sometimes.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, so, under the agricultural accessory use bylaw, category 3, lodging, other than rural bed and breakfast.
Yes.
I think in a very general term, this is lodging other than a bed and breakfast. I don't believe a bed, breakfast will be served as part of this amenity, so it's lodging. It's lodging in the most generalist of terms. It's not a narrow focus of lodging, such as single-family dwelling, or hotel, or motel, or any other particular subset of lodging. Lodging is a very general term, which was very used intentionally in that manner in this bylaw.
Lodging is so loose, so it's lodging and shelters?
Again, when we talked about this, and either I've got a
Shelters.
great
We're not
Republican
going for
elephant
that.
memory or not,
Right.
but we used the example of, what's that little farm area that's just east of the Rutland Holden border where they had like those little houses areas?
That's part of
Right.
these
That's the
guys,
other
that's
Oh,
Lilac.
Side of
Okay.
Lilac Hedge, yeah.
That was potential camping area, and if I remember right, there was discussion at the time of Schultz Farm also having like pop-up trailer camping.
Tiny
And that was all taken into discussion when we came up with this bylaw. And I remember that, and I was like, great, well, that gives the
So
ability
what
for...
was the answer?
The answer was it's okay, because people that come to Rutland as part of the agritourism, if they bring a camp up or pop-up trailer or a nice aluminum one,
Yeah, they could put it on farmland.
they could put it on farmland and have a weekend in
They
Rutland,
already have things like,
because we don't have any hotels.
well, let me think of the name of it. There's a website. You can drive around your RVs and you go to wineries and farms
Yeah.
and all this.
I mean, that was the thought process.
Harvest Host, right?
Thanks.
So you can do that, and you can go around, but you still need permission to camp those on there. So my question with that is, all good. Tiny homes on trailers are registered with the state of Massachusetts, have a license plate on it.
So they're RVs or...
Right, so those can
Recreational
get
vehicles.
moved and parked and there. Now, once it's permanent structure, does that change? Lodging is what gets me. If it's lodging under overhangs and sticks and branches, or are we talking buildings? What are these buildings, have they been looked at by anybody on the town? Knowing these
Well, if
kids are
they put a-
sleeping in a building?
If they build a building in town, wouldn't you have to go through the building inspector for that?
Why
So
don't
they
we
couldn't
what are
just
the
build
let's
shelters?
this
just
thing.
turn it
Okay.
over to the Boy Scouts? I mean, I'm wondering if we're
just
getting
curious.
too specific.
I don't know if we are or not. I think that's the whole purpose of these, is that we do, because we're setting the precedent here for not just Rutland, for the state. I
Right.
really think we are, because I think other towns are dealing with the exact same thing. There is a mile of special permits in front of the state right now to be able to put weddings and concerts and all this stuff at the farms. So I have no problem with any of that. It's the specific on this one is that camping. If these, and I have never been there, so if these structures are where kids are sleeping, are these structures, how are they built? Have they gone through a permitting process? We're approving camping, and I don't know what the buildings are.
I mean, if you're camping, you camp in a, I mean, there's two kinds of camping. You go camping in a tent, like I always did, or you go camping in a building, but,
Or
you know,
trailers.
Or the third one is my
trailers.
wife goes to Hampton
There's a
Inn.
lot of options. That's my point.
But my point is, I think we can get submerged in the minutia, as of, what my supervisors used to say, which is I believe it's a Jewish word, which means you're kind of in the soup and you're not going anywhere. And
The
you're,
weeds, as us engineers
Yeah.
say, we get in the weeds.
Get in the
From the
weeds.
weeds, we just opened this hearing 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
We've been going on, you know what I mean? This has been going on for 15 minutes, so, I don't think we're in the weeds on this. I think that this is something that really needs some
But
conversation.
I think we need to look at this, and I could be totally wrong. I agree with that, but it's always been my opinion with these special permits and things that you don't have to cover absolutely anything that could happen, like 10 years from now, you might get a trailer truck, or, you know, camping, is it on this land or that? I mean, they're generalized kinds of
I wouldn't think so.
documents, but
They have to
especially
be
at,
very specific.
especially at this point in time where the rules are changing and it's a brand-new industry.
Just another thought on this whole thing. If you're starting to talk about camping and camping other than Boy Scout camping, it is also under the control of the Board of Health. You would be required to get a license from the Board of Health to operate a campground.
Oh, because of utilities and
Right, that makes a lot of sense.
wastewater.
Right.
Distance to the bathrooms, there's all sorts of that stuff, so.
Let me ask a question. If I remember the special permit, yes, we issue it, but it can be reviewed at any time, Dave, if I'm mistaken, is that?
This is not, pardon me, this is not a special permit.
Oh, it's a
This is
site plan review.
Just to
Sorry.
remind the board
I'm
that
having a flashback to
of
the
the
end.
threshold for decision-making, the
Yes.
most rigorous for a variance,
Yeah.
second
you're right.
most rigorous for a special permit, and the least amount of rigorous for site plan review.
Yeah.
In the case of site plan review, maybe I'll make, well, in the case of site plan review, the site plan cannot be denied unless it's so fatally flawed that no reasonable condition could ever
Yeah.
salvage it. So the question for the board, are there sufficient findings of fact to be made with respect to the review criteria 1 through 10, as indicated by the applicant, as further discussed here tonight, in addition to the application? So this is, I just want to caution the board not to treat this like a special permit.
You're right, Dave.
This is a different level of review, which is a lower threshold for decision-making than a special permit. Just to keep that in mind when you're thinking about how to approach this.
Is that helpful?
Yes and no, maybe I should have taken it upon myself to go ahead of time. I'd just like to see it, I'd like to do a sidewalk before I make a vote.
So you're interested in the camping?
I just want to take a look at both locations and take a look at this map versus what's listed in here and walk around.
Like I say, Jordan's farm, you can drive through,
Big
drive
guys.
by.
I think that a sidewalk for all of us would, and just talk through everything.
In regards to the camping area there are Adirondack shelters similar to what is down by Long Pond. I've never seen it myself, but there's an Adirondack shelter down there on the Appalachian Trail, I believe, that the kids have the ability to get out of the shelter if it's bad weather. Those were mainly built for the winter months, snow and things like that. Most of the time, this time of year, throughout until October and November, they're outside in tents. And the Boy Scouts have rules and regulations in regards to how many kids can be in a tent and what the age gap is and all that, to do that. There's 4 shelters there. They're approximately 8 by 12. They have a little wood shed beside them to go with the fireplace that are right in the front of the Adirondacks. It's relatively simple. I don't see this turning into the Trout Brook of West Rutland. You know, it's 100% for the Boy Scouts. You know, does somebody camp on my front lawn with a wedding because they've had too much to drink and they set up a tent instead of driving home? Sure, might happen, but that's not the full intention, right? The full intentions for the camping at the farm is 100% for the Boy Scouts to be able to experience outside life. Kevin, your son was there a few weeks ago. You know, he was over, they didn't camp, but he was over in the general area starting some fires with the younger kids that were coming there. And certainly can ask him or Carl.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, you say it's not going to turn to the Trout Brook. I wouldn't even be opposed. I'm not opposed to any of this. I'm just.
I was hoping people were going to pay to milk a cow and camp at the farm. But
do you have? I mean, all of us can sit here and see the benefits of so many different aspects, especially where things have moved, as Mr. Jordan stated, with COVID, the people moving outside, people wanting to be outside, things that have driven people more to be outside, more passive recreation, more mountain bike trails. You know, I'm for all of this stuff to happen on all of these farms, and there's no reason why Rutland can't be the epicenter of it. I just want to make sure that it's all done properly in the right progression, as I've talked about with other people. If we're going to be a model for the state of Massachusetts, which we hopefully will be. So a lot of ours, these get passed along and then they get utilized by MDR and then passed back down to other towns and say, this worked over in Rutland. They've now got 3, and then Mr. Perkins 4, and then 5, 6, 7 different farms constituting 1,500 acres of agritourism in the center of Massachusetts. That's really powerful for our town. But I don't want to put it out there. The camping is the one thing that changed it all for me, was that because I don't know where it could or couldn't go. And I would rather see it bigger and more available for people to be able to put the tiny home community. Is that part of it? I don't know. I haven't seen it. Boy Scouts only, again, now somebody else asked for it. Does he have to reapply? I'd rather see it say Boy Scouts or any other nonprofit organization, or Boy Scouts and or others, because
I guess my question is, does it have to be that specific at this point in time?
it's so new to all of us, I don't know the answer. I looked at it differently in the first one because it was mine. I wrote it. I did, you know what I mean? So of course I looked at it from one perspective. When I look at these two, I look at it from a different perspective, and I think it's broader than what I did, which is good. I think it's the next step up in level of, be it either music festivals or weddings or, and I think that the area constitutes it, that area of town. I don't know that there's, a
I just
huge.
had another thought, excuse me. Because it says weddings were, I don't know if, say it's not listing a music festival. I mean, and in the future, as these businesses progress, won't they be, the documentation be more specific? The requirements get more and more specific?
To your point,
You
Marilyn,
mean for,
it would be, to what Norman said earlier, if the campgrounds grow, the Board of Health's getting involved.
Right, yeah.
So it'll be out of our jurisdiction completely. And then if buildings get added or anything like that, it's a building inspector and a fire chief, because he's gonna want fire protection of those buildings too. So I think from the perspective of what we're doing, we're just giving a broad nod to camping with other permitting that's gonna be needed if it expands. That's my take on this. Maybe I'm being too broad, but that's how I see this right now
No,
for site plan review.
That's my point.
I actually said
In all
It didn't get
honesty,
kicked.
right, if camping is it's in the application, right? There's no reason that it can't be applied for, but essentially we can box it out. I don't even need to tell you that I'm camping in my own woods.
kind of wish,
Right?
Because it opens that door, Randy.
Right.
Now it's
That's
API,
all.
it's APR land, and you and I know, we all know it's not supposed to happen without a permit. That's what sucks.
So, yes.
Hi,
Yeah.
if I may make a comment, I'm Mary Jordan, 51 Muschopauge Road at the farm. Just a few comments and observations. When applying for this, Randy, Mr. Jordan, and family members wanted to be transparent, okay? The camp would not have happened if it wasn't for COVID, and I know that you folks know that. To me, a Boy Scout camp, that's an intent. That is not an agritourism destination, I don't think. I know it isn't. And it's purely for them to continue their enthusiasm for Boy Scouts, because many Boy Scout troops haven't met in the whole, region, because they didn't have a place. The other thing I wanted to mention, as Randy mentioned, that they did a lot of farming merit badges, but beyond that, conservation, natural resources, we got all the different organizations involved. Again, to me, that's not an agritourism destination, it's an educational opportunity specifically for the Boy Scouts. So as Randy said, if it's easier just to cut that out, and I saw some nods, maybe that's fine, because, in the future, when we do brochures and we expand with opportunities in agritourism, that would not be included, because that's not the intent. And it was just to provide a service and opportunity in the middle of woods for folks. To do with weddings, again, There's lots of opportunities in that. And to me, an agriculture destination that includes a wedding is going to have that farm experience. It's not just to make money and look at a rural vista. It's to have that farm experience. And we've had wedding couples that actually do that, want us to bring a calf out to have their first picture with a calf. So it's all about the agricultural experience, which is what agritourism is. I just wanted to mention that.
I'm still okay with, because there's 5 categories is what we're approving for site plan review. Am I correct in that?
That's correct.
I don't have a problem with C under lodging, being that you're talking about campgrounds in a small sense. We're not talking about, the pout and trout.
Right.
So I think we give the latitude, and if it does expand, like I said earlier, there's other departments within Rutland, other sections in Rutland that'll step in. And to quote Addison for many, let's not be restrictive. It's always in the back of my mind. Let's not be restrictive on what we're trying to do for people in Rutland. So that's my comment. I'm all for approving all 5.
Can you remove, and then my other question or concern is the fact that number 1's listed on there if you were to take number 1 and number 5 out of this, is everything else on your APR exclusion? Is that a fair statement? Number 1 is across the street, right?
That's non-APR.
Across the street is
It's non-APR.
oh, it is not. It just was 5.
Oh, it's over here.
So just 5. Can you, and I'll even, with a correction in there that it's I'd rather not have Boy Scout camping in woods area listed on a site plan review that we approved. I'd rather just not even have it there. I don't like the fact that I'm approved, if there's no lighted path from A to B at night when we ask for lighting and we ask for lighting diet, all those other things, I'd rather that was gone and it wasn't on there. That's just my opinion. And then the agritourism bylaw allows for camping, which means you could put campers out there, you could put trailers out there, all those types of things. And then, as we mentioned before, if it's on APR land, it's not our jurisdiction, and then you guys are responsible to get your own permits for anything that's being done on APR land. But I'd rather not see it on our site plan review that we're approving, is that there's stuff being done on exclusion land.
Are we approving this specifically for APR land, or are we?
Well, just number 5.
No, but I'm just saying, our paperwork, our site plan reviews and whatever, and I don't think they're restricted just to APR land.
No, here, let me, let me just.
No, I understand, I see it.
Right,
over
take
here.
this, right, so, and I'm not sure if that's exactly right.
I understand what you mean.
So there's no restriction within that area for Mr. Jordan, plus or minus. Outside of that is a couple hundred acres that there's restrictions.
My question is, we're not judging the APR restrictions. We're judging
Mr.
our
Chairman.
own. I know Norm's agreeing with
No,
me.
but if,
That's fine. You have it. I'm just gonna say, the board's concern is not whether the land's APR or not, it's whether or not the uses can be permissible under this bylaw for the sites so identified on the
Right,
plan, and in accordance with the information provided, including the findings of fact made for each of the 10 criteria.
and that would be the same thing, and we can, if you look at the other map, and maybe Mr. McKay can answer, I don't know where it is, I know the majority is exclusion, but the additional parking over here, is that APR?
but what
Big
I'm,
hay fields, so if
what
it
I'm
is, just
saying-
take it off.
I know, I understand that, but
That's
my
not part of the site
question
plan
is a
review.
It's
broader
not part of the site plan
question.
review.
Well, if it's on our
Sorry,
map that
it is.
we're approving, if it's on this map, we're approving this site plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
what
that doesn't
As
mean
it
he
is.
can go ahead and do it if he needs another permit.
Yeah, see, if he doesn't get the APR permit, or did APR to approve it, our site plan review, we
It's
say you can
trash.
do it on there, but you don't have all the permits. Like, suppose this was a camping ground, and there was need for sanitation, he couldn't camp on there unless he gets the Board of Health to bless it. That's part of the whole permitting process that we talked about, and I hate using this, but on the special permit that we were talking earlier, you gotta have all your permits in place to make it
Right,
legitimate, and that's what, That's not part of the site plan
Right,
review,
this-
is permitting.
I just wish they weren't in there.
This
Wish-
board is not
It's not,
involved in the APR.
I
rules.
fully understand that. Yep, 100%. But
what
it's a
we're-
fact that we're approving uses on land that has restrictions on it.
But I think we can do that.
Yeah.
We can do it, you know, and then there's,
Isn't that odd?
yeah, but I mean.
As long as everybody admits it, it's
Hey,
odd.
listen, the planning
Listen,
board,
for future purposes, I'd rather it wasn't there.
So we grant A&Rs on 61, chapter 61A, that's.
Yeah, and how do I
That's-
feel,
that's
how do I
illegal.
feel about that, Tim?
I agree, I don't agree with
How do I
either.
feel about that?
It's the law.
It's the law, that's the key.
It's the
hey,
law.
I
Tim,
get it.
How can you do it on 61A because it's a minimum of 5 acres?
I'm not going down that
That's a
path
whole
because.
different-
You'll be here all night long.
All right.
It doesn't have to be all, doesn't have to be
But-
all-
but my
planning-
point is-
The planning board really doesn't have an awful lot of authority, just let us do this.
No, and it's not that, again, I'm not trying to,
No, I'm just saying that you've got like, well, I don't know.
I think that there's some specifics that are involved in just those two aspects, and that's the only
Well,
issue that I have with both of these, even though we're in one hearing now,
Okay.
the other hearing is the same
Randy
thing
said
as that AP, and I know it's
Just
gonna
because it's gonna
disappear.
be in the middle, I mean, we're going in this, we're in the weeds now. And Randy said I'll take the camping out if that's,
I don't think so. I disagree with that because we're trying to specifically tell an applicant to remove a section because we're getting into the weeds on a discussion. And I think to what Norm and David said is that we're here to approve site plan review. If Mr. Jordan decides to have camping in section 5 and doesn't get the APR approval,
or the Board of
then
Health.
that's, or the Board of Health, that's not our call.
Right, I agree, I actually agree with that.
We're agreeing too much, you know this is
I
bad.
know, this is not good.
If Julian walks in and I agree with him, I'm done for the night.
I just wish it wasn't there.
Okay, this is getting tiring.
It is.
Are there any other questions, comments? Other than what we have been talking about?
So my request for site walks are denied by the board. I'm not gonna go for a site walk and view these two sites.
You guys want to, I can't, so I've, if you,
I see no need, at least for my part, like I say, I've visited both places.
I do.
You know, I've seen them, I know what they look like, I have a picture in my head of them.
I'm okay if you want to do it. Let me just say that, I can't. So I'm out.
The only part that I would be interested in is the campground, and I don't even know if I could walk that far. But did you want to, do you want to see the whole site, or you want to
I
see?
would, yeah.
You can pretty
Mr.
much,
Chair.
like I say, drive down the road.
We included, part of the application is the plan which you have here. That's part of the application, this plan,
Yeah.
which is labeled and has details. And consistent with the prior proceeding, there was no site plan for that, no sidewalk for that.
I don't see any reason why you wouldn't wanna walk the site of something so new to the town, to the state.
Well,
We
can
walked the site of a marijuana retail establishment, we walked the site of a car wash, we walked the site of,
I think that part of that answer is that we were familiar with the site. It's my neighborhood, I don't need to go walk it.
I haven't been up to the Heifer property in 4 years.
That's a different story.
Well, on the next one, but it's all the same, I haven't been since, a wedding proposal and a scout camp and all these additions, I haven't been to Jordan's farm either since then, and I'd like to see them.
But most of that stuff's not, I give up, it's not involved in the projects, most of that.
I don't see why we wouldn't go for
I'm gonna
walk.
make a motion to approve the site plan review.
I second.
After you close the hearing?
Oh, I closed the, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. I make a motion to close the hearing.
I second. Is there any regulation that says you can't go on your own site plan walk?
No, and I'd be happy to do that, but we don't want to vote tonight then.
Why?
Give me a week. We'll vote next week, we'll vote in 2 weeks.
That's, we're not gonna have a chance for
We'll
that.
do it in a
Actually, the
month,
next meeting is in 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And it's booked.
It's a jam-packed
It's
meeting.
very full.
I don't see why it would be any,
Uh,
that big of a deal to, gives me 3 weeks to go for a walk.
Before I ask for this, is there any close to consensus on the part of the board on the sidewalk? I personally don't feel I need to.
That's two of us.
3 of us.
That's a majority.
I think it's setting precedent, because now you can have, I understand they didn't go on mine, but I would have asked the same thing. If they were in first, I would have asked them to go in. It's been several months that these things could have been put into place, and a sidewalk review is no different than all these other ones that we're doing. It's part of our job. I think it's part of the board's job to
But I
better
think that-
understand these
That
sites.
with yours and with something that's documented and something that's well known to the board.
It's because you had been there previously.
Right. So-
I haven't. That's my whole point.
The point is, though,
You very specifically said you had been there, you had gone through, you'd walked through, everybody was okay with the site. There was no discussion about doing a sidewalk. Now there is,
about sidewalk on this,
about a sidewalk on these, yes.
you're discussing.
Right. Just a walk.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is there any further discussion on that?
The sidewalk is later than the hearing anyway, isn't it?
No, if you close the hearing, that's it.
That's it?
Then you're just voting on site plan review.
I don't think we should do this without a walk around. I just don't. I understand everybody wants to get the, believe me, I lived it too. I went through this whole thing.
Right, I mean, I don't feel that I'm doing anything that, against what I
But
believe in.
if you had brought up, if you hadn't been to my location and had never been there, would you have wanted to walk around before you voted on my site plan review?
I thought you had an excellent site plan review, and I thought that I got the information that I needed out of it, and I have been by your farm. It's the same, in my mind, it's the same thing.
And I believe with this
Been
map,
there.
that I've got an overview, a Google map, so to speak, that gives me enough information that I wouldn't need a site plan review. Even if I was from out of town, there's enough information and detail on that map that I could consider it,
But you got this map here, but then you look at the marijuana establishment booklet, he's got 47 other drawings, and we still walked out on that, so you make a
Because they're
comment.
not the drawings on the building, they're not on the house, on the,
This was the most detailed thing I've ever seen, and we still did a site plan walk.
But
Talking
those-
about a 20-minute walk, and I can't believe that we're talking about not doing a 20-minute walk when we go on visits all the time. It could be next Tuesday, I can do it tomorrow, you know? I'm not trying to, I just want to take a walk around and better understand what these facilities look like today.
okay, we're at a,
we're in the middle of a vote before you,
Still, I can't talk.
yeah, you got
So
it. Can you ask for comment on
I'm
the,
standing firmly on this, that I'd like to take a
But that's
walk
just the
before I
board,
vote.
isn't it?
I'm not looking to
Commenting
not
on the
vote. I want to
motion.
vote yes on this. I want to get it done.
Close the
Believe me.
hearing.
I want to get this done. This is hanging over everybody's head. It's got to be done right.
Okay.
Kevin, in all honesty, I don't think with a site plan walk or not, it's not gonna change your decision how you vote on this, in all honesty. It's no different than walking in your woods to see the campground. You know, everything that we talked about is on the road, with the exception of the campground, right? That's a concern of yours. I hear it. I am willing to give you a tour. I would prefer to get this vote done and behind us. Your son's been there. You could have been there 2 weeks ago on your own,
I think that's all.
which had nothing to do with the site plan review to see it, that's all.
And
I just,
Can you,
if I can, just, I want to vote yes. I have no desire to vote anything but yes, but for me to be able to do that as an elected official, I'd like to be able to say to everybody that I voted yes because I walked around the site and I fully understood what was happening on these locations. And as of right now, this moment, I don't, and I'd like to see it. That's my point. I got put on this board, and I feel as though I owe it to walk the sites and better understand it. That's why I wanted to walk the marijuana site. That's why I went last Tuesday to the road approvals. That's why I'm doing this.
you know what? I think maybe we should establish a time limit on discussion.
I think maybe we should establish a time limit on permits and when, I understand, these things should take time.
No, I agree with you, but
So why open and close, why,
I mean, I think that, it's, I really respect your opinion on wanting to do it right, I really do. But I think that you have to kind of, this is a consensus thing.
I get it, and right now I'm not in consensus
Right.
with everybody, because I don't think, and you can't ask the applicants, but, I mean, they're putting forth a proposal to the town of Rutland that they know isn't approved by the state of Massachusetts, regardless of whatever. It's not
But
our
that
purview,
doesn't-
it's not, I get it. But my point is, why wouldn't you want to do it the right way?
Because I think we are doing it the right way. We
I
are
fully
working
disagree.
in the parameters that are established for a planning board. And, you can
And with-
disagree.
And I am, and with
And
those
you
parameters,
certainly
don't
are,
we
but-
have a request to ask for a site walk, and I,
The board can vote on that request. And it seems like
so
we
be it.
have,
I
and
can
that's,
abstain from votes. I would feel better, walking this
Well,
before I vote,
I
that's
can
all.
request through the chairman that we have a vote on closing the hearing with, or at least have a vote on a sidewalk. We have,
I think we established consensus on the sidewalk. And I think we've hammered this thing more than to death. So, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Three in favor, one against, and one abstention.
Now, the next step is to approve the site plan review, and that's, whenever you get to the comment section, that's where I had a comment,
Comment.
where you asked for comments.
Comment. I don't know, are we ready to approve the site plan?
I think the board has the application. The
Unbelievable.
board has heard testimony from the
I see
applicant
a
to support this further. The board's had a discussion on this.
So we're not missing anything.
I don't believe so. I mean, staff has worked with this applicant on this petition. We had a pre-meeting even before the meeting with the board. We had a pre-application meeting last time. The board had the better part of 2 weeks. If there are any questions or comments, or do site visits or whether it be before here. The board's looked at this information. I don't have anything else to add as staff.
If I can, to your comment about having the last 2 weeks to make a site visit, I thought tonight was the time that we would request that. So again, without knowing the protocol, I didn't realize in the last 2 weeks I could have gone over there and done the site plan, all that. I thought tonight was when we would, again, it was the
Right, but
whole, if I had known that, I would have done it. I would have done it.
There's no protocol for site visits.
I understand there isn't, but when a
Site visits can be
request
done
comes up,
at the jurisdiction of each
It's
particular
good
board
to
member,
know.
as those board members see fit to do it.
would not have been good to know.
I'm sorry,
Just would have been good to know.
just to finish the thought. This board has its traditions of doing site visits on larger commercial projects such as the car wash, such as the marijuana. It does not have that established for lower levels of decision-making for site plans. But anyways, I don't have anything else to add, Mr. Chair, beyond what
Let,
we've already talked about here.
let me make a compromise situation.
We should.
If Mr. Jordan is offered for Kevin to do this walk, do we let that happen and make a vote, or do we make a vote tonight? That's what I'm going to throw out there.
I can answer that real quick. You already closed the hearing. Whatever he says
Yeah.
makes no difference.
Right.
He
Oh, good
cannot-
point.
He cannot say a thing now. It's
That's why
over.
we just set the precedent, and that's what I
It's
was
over.
trying to avoid from happening. Begged you, don't do this. And you're right, I could have walked with Mr. Jordan tomorrow. It's not gonna stop anything, but it allows me as an elected official to say, I went and viewed the sites and I approved them. I want to approve both. I didn't want to deny, I don't. Now I'm going to. I'm gonna go on record as denying them, because I don't believe that this should be approved tonight. I don't.
well, can we move on?
We have no choice. Have no choice.
We have no choice at this point.
Then I guess I'll make a motion to approve site plan review for, are
I
we doing
wanted
each
to vote
individual
yes.
one?
I truly
or-
wanted to vote yes.
So
No, I wanted to vote yes.
I'll make the motion to approve
Why?
the grant site plan review,
Who gives a shit?
great site plan approval. God, I gotta get some tea in a second. For 51 Muschopauge, and I'll do the second one after we go through this.
I'll second.
I have a motion, and I have a second. Here we go again. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain.
Abstained or no?
I'm waiting for the opposed.
Oh, opposed?
Aye. But I wanted to say yes. I did. I wanted to go on record as saying yes. But I can't even go for a walk. It's quite ridiculous.
Anyway, motion carries. 3 in favor.
I'll make a
I'll be the one to
motion
make sure that the APR.
to approve site plan review for, I don't have the application in front of me.
You have it on the
216.
screen, which describes the matter. If you could
Oh,
just maybe
oh.
refer to that, please, so the board knows what you're referring to.
Of Lilac Hedge Holdings LLC, at,
We gotta open the hearing
216
first. don't we?
Wachusett.
oh,
Open.
You have to, yeah.
oh, I'm sorry.
Because
That was one hearing.
Are
Sorry, I screwed that one up.
Exactly.
next
I'm
on
gonna
the
go through it
agenda.
all over again.
Number 5.
Okay, number 5. Okay. This next thing is, we are opening the hearing on the application for site plan review for agricultural accessory uses at 216 Wachusett Street. And I guess, first of all, does the applicant have a presentation of any sort to make?
Just everything that was presented to you already.
Okay, then questions, comments from the board?
I have the same question on the additional parking in the hayfield out here. Is that APR land?
Is it APR land? Yes, it is.
And do you have a permit from APR to park on that?
I didn't think we need one after reviewing the first application that came in for this. I didn't see any permit supplied for that one, so no.
So you don't think that APR requires a permit to park on
Well,
APR
just
land?
after looking at your application, there wasn't one submitted, so I didn't feel that there was one needed for that.
Well, that's not what I'm asking. I just,
I'll be quiet. I'm gonna stop.
we could be quiet, we could be open. I mean, this is the exact same
I
thing
don't think,
as
I don't think the
last one.
APR discussion, Marilyn,
It
is
has
freaking
to.
out. I don't think it's an issue with us on the board.
You know why I think it is an issue is because what happens, there are so many things that precedent sets, and I understand Mr. Perkins is about to raise his hand, and I'll give him credit because he's the only person that has a permit in with APR for a special event that he's gonna be doing later on this year. So I give him a lot of credit because he's doing it the right way. If I wanna park cars on APR land, I'm putting the permit in beforehand. For me, as a board member, an elected official, I vote based on what I'm given. I'm given a drawing and a document here that I'm voting on that states that we are allowing parking on land that is directly written in the APR agreement that you cannot park on it without a special permit. And
But
that
we
special
don't
permit is
have
not.
any control over APR land.
I fully understand it, but wouldn't it be nice if it was in place the right way? And we
It
talked
would
about
be,
it.
but it's
I
not
talked about this
us.
beforehand.
Can I ask
But
Dale
should
a
it
quick
be? Should it
question,
be
Norm?
AgCom?
To try to get this shut down.
Maybe, but not,
Tell me to shut
it's
up,
not
it's easier.
us.
Should this discussion be brought, this is so new to all of us, I don't
That's
understand
what I
why we're so
mean.
quick to just approve it without having these discussions. Why wouldn't we talk about this with AgCom, as Mr. Jordan brought up? And I know that there was some, but wasn't specifically about APR. Why not bring APR into this loop?
Because that's, the planning board works independently. Now, this may not be correct, I mean, it may not be the efficient way to do it, but we all work independently. We don't rule on anybody else's, anybody
I'm ruling
else's.
on what's given to me. But that's my whole point. I'm ruling on what's given to me and what's written out here, and that these are the allowable uses on this property,
But
knowing
we're-
that the uses aren't allowed on the property.
But
Well,
we
no, no,
don't
no, no.
have that information.
Again, I don't know the APR process. I apologize for that. But I would think the APR process is you would apply for a permit for an event that you're going to have, not for 100 of them. You have to
Okay.
apply for the event you're going to have.
It could be.
So during that, one of the 100s or whatever, either one of these applicants have to apply for that permit, and then APR would come involved. But the planning board doesn't have any authority over that. That's sort of my overall point.
And I get that, and I guess
And if you weren't here, it wouldn't occur to us. We'd just go ahead with our
doesn't
process.
it enlighten you a little bit, though? Doesn't it make you kind of wonder? We're
There's
setting an agritourism precedent. Agritourism didn't exist 10 years ago, 5
I
years. The
agree.
term wasn't even there. So now what we're doing is setting precedent, not
I
just in the
guess
town of
what-
Rutland, it's in the state of Massachusetts.
Okay, I'm going
We
to
want
say
to be done
this,
the right
and
way.
then I'm shutting up. I don't think that we don't have any of the rules and regulations. The planning board's not, just to let me finish, please. The planning board is not supposed to go out and understand APR land and what is and what isn't.
Then
We
why did I
just-
have to?
We didn't ask you to.
Yes, you did.
Maybe
Very
Dick did,
specifically.
but
I
the rest of us
got
didn't.
delayed by a month because I had to go and get all this homework done. So the precedent was set by this board because of APR land. Now, I'm bringing it up again, and it doesn't matter. That's my point. It mattered when it was
Okay,
me, and
so
now it
it's-
doesn't.
Now you
So
make,
we're making sure that this precedent is set, that I had to prove that my land was not
Well,
APR land. Is that correct,
listen,
Mr. Williams?
no, that was his comment.
Yes, that I had to prove that it was not
The board
APR
didn't
land.
make a condition of that.
A member of the board did,
But
and
nobody
I'm a
else-
member of
rest
the board.
didn't. Okay.
But it got,
I'm
no,
not gonna-
that
I did.
hearing got delayed. He's admitting it. The hearing got
Yeah, he
delayed
did.
because of this.
I did ask him
No, I
about
do.
it.
And I had to
Right,
contact the
but not-
DPW director. I had to
Yeah.
talk to
As a
surveyors.
board member, not as, and it was never
It's
a
a board.
condition that he had to approve.
Okay, enough.
Just from a point of precedence with APR, I managed 216 Wachusett Street for 18 years, and we had a long-standing arrangement with them that we could use that field for parking if we didn't, no buildings, no construction, that would take a special use permit. But they always said just, it's fine for parking anytime, as long as you weren't, making it rough.
And I asked Mr. McKay if he has any. He says he doesn't. And Mr. Jordan didn't have that approval from APR, or that conversation, or that little bit of document. That's all I'm saying. I had to prove that everything that I was doing was not on APR land, and now the board is stating that these two applicants do not have to prove that what they're doing is not on APR land.
Was that
We're
a,
contradicting
it was
ourselves.
not a condition of your approval?
It was, it wasn't a condition I had, because I had to prove that it wasn't on APR land. What they're providing,
Enough.
it's not enough. How can I don't understand. This is clear. Even Mr. Williams is agreeing with me. He's even agreeing the fact that I had to go out, I had to go do all this extra work to prove that everything that I did on my site plan was on an excluded piece of property, very specifically non-APR land. And now we're approving these with unlawful uses on APR land. Why did it, we talk about things being the same, let's keep them the same.
I think we were wrong. Let me say it, I'll say it.
Right.
I think we were
I'll
wrong.
agree with you.
Because I don't
Well,
believe
yeah, isn't that
we have
great?
any right, like I go back to the 61A thing, we don't have any right as a board to override something that we have no authority on, which is APR. It's my opinion.
So we should not have made that as a
Should we
Yes.
check with APR on this? Ask the question.
Don't get me started.
Mr. What do you do? Ask the question. Why?
Dick, I'm
No,
curious, what
I'm
do you-
not, that was something else.
Mr.
Not
Perkins, you
about
filed
you,
for a
I'm
permit.
just saying
And
APR
congratulations,
period.
and thank you for doing
Just-
it.
just don't get me
I'm
started.
not on APR. Our land is not APR, so
That's right.
I haven't filed for it. Randy Jordan did for the 5K that we're running, and part of it's coming in town. But
Okay, so maybe that was it then, right? So,
Randy did.
well, wouldn't you do that for the weddings and for the camping? Yes?
I have a different,
Should you?
I have a different opinion.
Well,
That we'll
but
talk
that-
about later.
And why later? I don't understand.
Okay. Norm,
We're contradicting ourselves as a board.
We
We're setting bad
I think
precedents.
it's about time that we do,
This is, this is turning into. I so wanted to vote yes. I wanted my name stating yes. I wanted to move forward feeling comfortable. I don't anymore.
because we
Kevin,
didn't go on a
heard.
sidewalk?
everything we're hearing from you now is nothing
No,
more than a
because of this
repeat.
well,
And we don't need to hear it more than once. Please,
this is so wrong.
say it once and then drop it.
I mean, we have two board members agreeing. Two of us. Mr. Williams has not disagreed with everything that I'm stating. And then he has to abstain because he's abutting, or whatever it is. So you have two members agreeing that there should be more conversation about these. I want it done right. I just want it done right, Marilyn, Tim. I just want it done right. And tonight it's not.
This guy hates APR. This guy, for crying out loud, would like to bury a few people, for crying out loud.
What do you mean?
APR.
My
At
sister.
this point, I'll help you.
And the main thing, for crying out loud, was only to buy the development rights, period.
It was to help farmers, and it is. It's a mess.
And then they
It's a mess
changed
for
it after
everybody.
they...
It was the way my sister-in-law found out, and don't digress too far. It was set up to help out people to keep property from being developed. Sorry, Clay. That was APR's big purpose, was to put
Yeah.
money in farmers' pockets to keep them from having the land developed. That's not how it's turned out. It's turned out to be a restrictive way to basically keep things from anything being done to it. Trust me, man, my sister-in-law's got 80 acres of APR, and it's not fun. When the person comes over, that John Deere is too big to be driving over there. No longer can go over that creek anymore with it. Get out of here. So anyhow.
Okay.
I'd like to request a site walk on this one also. As I haven't been up there in years, and I'd like to be able to walk through the property and better understand what I'm voting on. And I'll do that at any time after tonight.
Do we have a consensus on the necessity for a sidewalk? Do we have consensus on the necessity for a sidewalk?
I have to stick with my same opinion. It's that map that I reviewed last week. I was content with everything that was there. That's my opinion. So the answer is, for me, my perspective is the map covers my site information that I need for site plan review.
I agree with that opinion. It's my opinion also.
As do I. I'm very familiar with this particular site.
Well, I want to hear from the abstainee. He hasn't said anything.
He agrees with me.
He's abstaining.
I am abstaining.
If you're
I
abstaining,
just-
you
I
don't
can't have him
have
say
to
anything.
speak.
Okay. I'm sorry, Senator, I can no longer talk to those issues.
Right.
Okay.
Any further comments from the board?
I just wanted it to be done right, and this isn't being done right.
Are there any comments from the public?
So is this plan to do basically the same thing, the weddings and, is
It's all, if I'm not mistaken, it's all 5 of the points that's in our special permit. Barb, if you want me to read them off, I can read them off to you, what they're planning to do. If I can get the stupid thing to recognize my face. It's allowable uses with site plan review. Number 1 is wedding receptions and private parties. Number 2 is concert, festivals, and special events. Number 3 is lodging other than rural bed and breakfasts, so that's not as part of site plan review. The 4th one is art gallery and sculpture parks, which will be interesting to see that, but it's another thing. Number 5 is non-motorized active recreational uses, including but not limited to disc golf, zip lines, archery, things like that.
Oh,
Those
okay.
are the 5 that are being asked for this site plan review.
okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion.
I'm
Everybody's
sorry,
looking.
was this meeting closed? You had a motion and a second to close?
No, that's what I'm gonna do right now. Motion,
I'm sorry.
I'm motioning to close the hearing on 216 Wachusett Street, Lilac Hedge Farm LLC.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Oops, should I say 32? No, it's...
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed?
Aye.
Once again, 3 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention. And once again, just to make sure you have everything you need.
Yes, the board has the application, including the site plan and the findings of fact part of the application. You've heard testimony from the applicant tonight. The board's had a discussion on this matter. These applications are largely the same. So look, I'm not sure that there's anything else that staff needs to write a decision, so if the board's comfortable taking a vote, and we're comfortable writing a decision.
Once again, I'll accept the motion.
I guess I will make a motion to approve site plan review at 216 Wachusett Street, Lilac Hedge Holdings LLC. I'm sorry, I said farm last time, I should have been Holdings.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further comments, discussion, questions? Hearing silence, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain.
Abstain, opposed?
Aye.
3 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention. Okay.
Mr. Chair, just so everybody knows, because this is a site plan, only 3 affirmative votes were necessary, so both of these items passed.
I'm glad they passed. For the record, I wish I'd put a positive vote on there. I wish we set that precedent. And we didn't on mine, and we didn't on these, and more are gonna come, and I'm gonna say the same thing. We should do site plan reviews on these things. We should make sure that they're not being done.
I don't know exactly how we would come up with sidewalk criteria.
I don't either, but I think it's up for discussion.
Because we're, you know, for example, I think we have a common driveway coming up with the site plan approval.
The board doesn't do site plan approval for common driveways.
We don't do a sidewalk.
I'm sorry, you don't do a site
Yeah.
visit for common
You know,
driveways,
it's
that's all
just-
site plan.
Yeah, but that's a common driveway. We're talking about 100 events a year, 200 in the same town, in the same neighborhood. And believe me, I'll be the first one to say, and I hope you guys both know, I want this as much as everybody else, because it makes sense for the farmers of Rutland. It makes sense for Rutland as a community. It makes sense, it just doesn't make sense to do it not the right way.
I'm just saying, it would not necessarily be that easy to come up with criteria for when we do and when we don't.
Well, we do have a subcommittee business meeting scheduled for, what, a week,
Tonight, isn't it?
next week?
Something like that. Okay, next item. Maple Hill Estates Subdivision Administration. And
Let everybody clear out before I lose my temper. I am... I'll wait till you
This is
guys...
something I said.
No, I'm...
well,
Did you have tacos last night, Clea?
We have more supplemental, but you already may have a copy of this. I would just check it against the dates. But it looks like you should already have it, but this is Maple Hill Estates, the old building review.
Yes.
this is the same.
It might be redundant, I was just checking.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
18th and 22nd. First of all...
I don't even know where to begin on this.
First of all, it says number 7, George Critzy here. I make a motion that we send this back to Mr. Critzy and have him fix it.
Mr. Chairman, can we at least tell the public what the matter is under discussion here?
Well, To me-
The public understands where we are in the agenda.
Up in the,
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Wait a minute.
hurry up before I start losing it.
We're not talking about road acceptance yet.
I'm not talking about road accept, you're talking about this, aren't
Yeah.
you?
And
You got to
for
do-
laws of Christie, RE was the same
What's that?
What do we?
regarding,
Street
Just talking about
taken?
Maple Estates,
Yeah.
You're on
the
item-
as-built plan,
that's item seven.
not the road.
Yeah, that's what I
acceptance.
said, that's what I'm doing.
We're on item 6.
Yeah,
Item 6,
Yeah.
there's no item 6 then here, where is it?
it just got handed to you.
There's no information.
No, you failed to write item 6 on here?
Yeah, item 6 is what I
Oh,
want to
for
talk
God's
about.
sakes.
I'm not excited about the road acceptance right now.
Get excited.
It ain't happening.
Okay. I don't know, I read this just very, very quickly, I think, before I left. And aside from the infamous conservation restriction,
That's where I'm at.
You're on item 7,
Yeah.
correct? You went to item 7? So
No, I'm at item 6.
Well, item 6 is just ordinary subdivision administration, Maple Hill Estates.
Well,
Exactly, that's where I want to stay at.
that's what we would do quick.
Well, that's actually pertains to 7, the street acceptance request.
Oh, this pertains to
So-
7? Let's stay at 6, because Mr. Chairman, I have a huge issue with what Dave sent me. I should say sent the board with the CR issue on Maple Hill Estates. I'm getting on my soapbox again that here we are. We had something in an order of condition for subdivision, and again, all the i's weren't dotted and t's crossed. We got houses built, we got, when I say houses built, we have building permits issued, we have occupancy permits issued that should have never happened. So I have a huge problem with that vision system even being useless. To me, it's useless, or somebody's not following it. Because that process should have never happened without that CR being finalized from the Concon. And Peter, since you're here, am I correct that was through your board that should have had that finalized? And is that a correct statement, or was that the planning board?
That, the process does go through Conservation Commission.
Okay,
yes.
thanks. So that was an order condition on the subdivision approval, and it wasn't completed. So I'm struggling with how anything got done. That's it. And I'm frustrated to the point of sending personally, not from the board, I'm not asking the board to do this, to the town administrator saying, what the H is going on? We have a vision system in place. It's supposed to, if stuff isn't completed, then why is stuff getting issued?
It's pretty obvious. The system didn't catch that. And, you know, I guess, you know, unfortunately, for so many years, things have maybe been simple enough that we could almost rely on our own memories.
Right.
And that is just not the case. You know, I for example, I knew, definitely, yes, there had to be a conservation restriction on that open space. I did not know that it was conditioned on the occupancy permits for the houses.
That was just my question, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, you know, so.
Why wasn't
Hmm?
Why wasn't it?
I have no idea, but it is.
I didn't know it either.
Okay.
Can I say something? though,
Well,
Mr.
hold on,
Oh,
hold on
okay.
just a minute. The thing is, obviously, something slipped through badly. I don't know, just off the top of my head, if we have a way to prevent that kind of thing from happening over and over again. Other than going to town meeting and asking for some more staff to get just a separate review person for every single project that's going on in town.
Well, and through the chairman, that's why we spent and I don't remember the exact number, but it was thousands of dollars for that system. If that system wasn't gonna be assistance to building inspector, why waste taxpayer dollars on having it? That's the struggle I've got right now, because that was the whole spiel, how it was sold to the town.
But also, the system's only gonna be as good as the administrator of the system, right?
Good point.
So the system's gonna be as good as the person going in there and making sure that all the checks and balances were done. And I'm
That's a
not
good point.
putting anything to any board or person or this or
No,
that
that's a
if
good
it
point.
ain't. The very end, yeah, so the system could, the infrastructure could be there.
But it's just
The
not being
administration
utilized.
isn't there, I
But
don't know.
Yeah.
the question is, what happens next?
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question, Marilyn, is how do we make sure, or maybe not us, but
No, my question is, what do we do next in this meeting? Not how do we fix that system?
I was gonna ask on the standpoint from, since we had it in our orders of condition of the subdivision, how do we make sure, as a planning board, that they get followed?
No, what do we do right now to fix it?
Okay.
It's not up to us to fix it.
This issue right now is before us. There's an issue before us that says the houses were built and whatever, that the order of occurrences wasn't followed. So what does that mean now?
I don't know. I don't have that answer. Other than people living in, we can't kick them out.
Right.
I wouldn't do that. I'm not that cruel.
So, first of all, conservation restriction is a brand-new process that was created just for Maple Hill Estates. The board decided, if you remember, that, we're gonna send this to the state because for some reason, the ones we've done through the town aren't in perpetuity. The easements don't last in perpetuity. Who the hell would ever change them? I don't know. I went through this conversation, and this is what happened. So the CR, at that point, I would have appealed that because the CR, the state has up to 6 months to review that CR and get it back to us. The minute I got done with the subdivision, I sent that off to the state. They approved it, sent it back. I had no idea that Concom had anything to do with it. It went over, Peter, you grabbed it somehow. I don't know how you got it, but
We got it because we were at the select board where they were talking about it and our signatures were required on the document.
so just this is my own defense, okay? So it goes over to the Concom, they send it off to town council. Great. There's a billion changes on the thing, and here's the deal. When you send a CR to the state, and once you record it, in order to change it, it has to be an act of the legislature. Now, you know how many changes the planning board is allowed to the open space? There was a plan recorded in February. If I recorded that before we did the plans, you could have never done them. So it was a nightmare. Then, Dave wanted to own the land, he wanted to put a fence up. Great. So the state does not allow fences on their conservation land. So I had to come in to the planning board and cut a 3-foot strip all the way through where Dave wanted to strip, and you guys approved it. So up until February, you made another change on it, which because there was a mistake made way at the beginning by the engineering firm, and now I'm the guy stuck in the middle, right? It's gone back. We did our thing. We sent it off to the state. They sent it back to George. George told me he made those changes. He sent it back to you in December. He said he made the changes. Somehow he got a different document back. So he got the document back. I talked to him. He was out last week. I talked to him. Now, because we made the change in February, he has to do a whole new legal description. That doesn't take 5 minutes. He's got to do that. So it's a brand new process that I've never had to deal with in the town before. And why would you condition it so that I couldn't get an occupancy permit? I mean, I would have peeled that in 5 seconds if I saw it. I don't know where it came from, but it's a ridiculous thing. The conservation restriction has to go on, but you can't hold up building houses for it. Like I said, if I had known it was in there, I'd have appealed it, because it's a crazy restriction. So yeah, maybe you did it, but I don't think it was warranted. I just think it was, it's the way the conservation restrictions have to be done, and I think a legal opinion that Dave had gotten way back then added that comment to it. So I'm the victim here. I mean, I'm trying to get this thing done, and I've gone through, and then I get a letter from Peter last week that says, don't approve don't approve or don't recommend the street takings to the town because the CR's not in place. It can't be in place. Now, it could take over 6 months for them to get the whole new conservation restriction that the law firm made the changes on, back to the state, back to us, back to the Concom, back for approval, and now it's gonna go, then it's gotta get recorded. That could take another 6 months. They have 6 months to get back to you. It's just not fair. It's not like I didn't pay attention to it. The minute we got through with the subdivision, right out of the gate, I sent out the conservation restriction.
So,
Excuse me.
any ideas on what happens next?
Yes. So George made the changes that the ones that he accepted. Some of them we didn't accept, but they were crazy.
We just need to have a discussion about
Yeah,
it, that's
right.
fine. Yeah.
So, but that's coming back. It should be back to you maybe by tomorrow.
Great.
And then it should, once they approve the changes that George, they asked George to make,
Right.
and George gives them the new legal description, as long as when it goes back to the state, if the Concom says it's okay and it goes back to the state, they approve it, gets recorded, it's done.
How long does that take?
They have up to 6 months to review it.
So does this affect the taking of the streets?
Yes,
It shouldn't,
yes.
it shouldn't. It's not fair.
I don't disagree with you, it's not fair.
So
but it
here's what's
does.
gonna happen. This winter, coming up, when it doesn't get back from the state, and I don't show up to plow, and the town doesn't show up to plow, I'm gonna give them your number. Because
Clay,
that
it's
is,
the law.
I don't give a shit what the law, that is exactly what's gonna happen.
Well, then you'll end up having, from this planning board, you're not following your orders of condition.
I don't care, that's not a condition. It's over, it's over.
You own those streets until the town accepts
And
them.
I don't have to plow them, it's not on the bond.
Hey,
I
All
plow them, and there's no reason for you not to put that into acceptance because of a CR that I can't even control.
Your person you worked with forced you in that situation. You talk to Dave and get him to fix it.
What is it?
His problem.
You shouldn't have approved it. That change made it so that I couldn't do it anyway. So you're just as much at fault.
I want to just verify the change, very specifically.
Yes.
Was the change that 3-foot strip with the fence?
No,
What
that was prior.
What was the
change
change
was
that we're talking about?
The lot that they added at the end.
Swap of the
Swap
lot.
some land.
The same
So now it whole.
recorded acreage.
Right, so if I had done that before, it would have had to go, it would have had to have, and in order to make that change, the legislature would have had to make a vote. You guys have never, that I know of, sent one to the state that small. Yeah, Central Tree Estates, I think, the conservation restriction, but there was never I've done plenty of open space subdivisions, there's never been a condition that says you don't get subdivision approval, they don't take the streets because of or an occupancy permit because of a conservation restriction. Anybody would appeal that, that's crazy.
Conservation
Let me
restriction
ask
is
a
just
question,
on
Norm.
open space.
You guys have been on longer than I have. Have we ever did a subdivision where a private person owned the open space? I think the answer is no.
no, I think.
Yes.
Well, no, actually, you're wrong about that.
We have.
Because
Yeah.
I can think of several where the homeowner associations with the landowner, and that's private land.
That's
definition.
different, because we have three sections: homeowners, builder, and then I don't remember what the third one was. Town. So where does this
The
private
builder.
person fall
What
under?
about Gasparonis?
You didn't do anything there. I don't even think you took it.
I'm thinking off of Irish Lane.
I'm just asking if this has been done before, because
That's
I
why
don't
I
want
mean, it's
Oh,
no,
precedence, what I'm looking for.
precedent, right.
Yeah,
But,
They own
They
'Cause-
own it, so.
no, that would be useful.
yeah.
They tried to get
I
it
just
down
thought,
in
Dave,
town
didn't we
hall.
send this to legal for opinion and got an opinion back for this CR on how we were gonna execute it within our subdivision process?
I don't recall that, I mean, we got a response from them indicating that it could be held in different ways.
Okay,
That has to go to the state. In order for it to have real longevity, it's the type of, that's conservation restriction has to be approved by the Commonwealth. Anything lesser is not in perpetuity. And if the goal is to create pockets of open space, then it has to be in perpetuity. So that was the advice. if you want it to be in perpetuity, or she also indicated what was meant by conservation restriction, meaning something approvable by the state. Something lesser was not really a conservation restriction.
And that's what I was getting at. I guess I was trying to make the point is, we asked for advice, we got it, and we executed it. So, I get it, Clea, it's the law, and I guess it hasn't been done before, I understand that. But I don't think this board, I'm not violating the law, sorry.
What law?
What?
What
I
law are
don't
you
understand, what are we
violating?
violating?
The
Ask them
CR,
to
the
take the
CR has,
streets?
the CR has to be complete for our, I shouldn't say our, well, actually,
Well, we
Is that-
violated it.
It's
no,
done.
we didn't.
Yes, we did.
We haven't approved the street yet.
No, we,
We approved
We
the conservation
did not
restriction.
give building permits or occupancy permits.
okay.
That's the building inspector's problem.
Okay,
He's the
I
one
agree.
violated the law.
but my point
What's the law?
is,
He means the regulation of the,
There's
and
no
the
Yeah.
law.
permits of the,
Permit, a
I'm
permit's,
sorry, no, I
okay,
didn't mean to cut you off.
that's all right. I
okay.
think that, you know, what we need to do, we're gonna be here till forever.
Yeah,
and
No, it's a
ever
late
and
night,
ever.
we're at midnight. I
Which
just
is
wanna-
not, I'm not quite finished, which is not an issue being here for a long time, but I think I've had enough arguing and yelling for tonight. How do things stand now? What's happening with this now?
So we had a meeting the other day that I think Dave probably told you about with the town administrator, Peter, Norm, Dave and I. And,
I think the rest of the board is probably not aware of that.
So if you
we're not
could,
supposed to talk about it?
no, I think we can absolutely talk about it. I was going to
Just
bring it
like
up
to just
anyway.
describe
I
to
just
the board
want-
what happened.
I just want-
quickly.
just fill us
Everybody
in,
to
that's
know.
all.
So basically, I mean, when Peter sent that letter, I went off like a bomb. And, you know, we got together and I said, listen, it's just not fair to not recommend street acceptance. What does the CR have anything to do
Right?
with the street?
I think
It has nothing to do, the planning board is in charge of safety of the ways. What does it,
I think-
conservation restriction have anything to
We
do
understand that.
with planning and somebody taking a street in the town? Listen, the town's collecting all the real estate taxes over there. There's no goddamn way, after I finish that street, that I'm gonna plow it. And I'm gonna sand it and I'm gonna maintain it or any of that stuff.
Time out.
Okay?
What are we gonna do about it? What did you come up with?
Over at the meeting?
Yeah.
What we agreed upon was that if, with the conservation restriction, if I say this wrong, please correct me, but the planning board would hopefully recommend street acceptance, and I agreed that I would have the CR to the Concom no later than the 19th of April, but hopefully by the 5th. I wrote it all down, I put it in
The
writing.
board should have that information. It's an email in the packet. You should also have a supplement which just basically acknowledges the struck line here. That is what was discussed at that meeting. So that's the gist of it. That has the commitments to get the conservation restriction drafted and filed.
That's it.
It might still be done, I mean, I can't expect the state would actually review and approve it within a month.
Now, if I can, through the chair, just to verify, the conservation restriction that was previously filed versus what is being filed currently or is in process was just a change in the lines, but not in the acreage of the open space.
No, it all changed.
It's-
It all changed,
Everything
you know,
changed from the
Kevin.
original.
Yeah.
It's a different.
Because the original had a
But
single.
not the lot, but not the, I'm sorry, the house lots.
They didn't change.
The
They
house
didn't
lots did
change.
not change.
Right, and I guess
So-
that's
so
kind.
it's the division of
Who owns what?
of the open space into two parcels and all the fence lines that are excluded from the open space.
And it was also a different process than we've used before,
It's,
isn't
it is a different process.
Well, my point there,
And I'm sorry, there's one other
Yeah,
set of
please.
changes, which is the changes Concom suggested to the applicant when we returned it to them.
and that's outside of the purchased properties already.
All of it.
All of this.
So there were no changes in the cul-de-sac area, no changes on the town roads, no changes on that, and that's, I guess, I can hear where he's coming from. If there's no changes within the makeup of the actual development, it's outside of those parameters, then can we along the path of approval with The conservation restriction acceptance?
So what,
It's a new-
what this item has to do with is the request for street acceptance.
Right.
So the board should have the as-built for
Mhm.
Maple Hill Estates.
Mm-hmm.
The board should have the comments from the reviewing engineer, which was drafted
But these are
today.
separate from what we're,
Well, this is actually the main gist of the agenda item is street acceptance.
and yeah, it's not the, not the
The
restriction.
main item is not the conservation restriction. The main item is the request and review of the street acceptance.
Okay, yeah, I'm
So
just.
the board has the street review plan, you have the comments from the consulting engineer, you have the attorney letter describing the meets and bounds, and so forth, and you have what would be taken under the street acceptance, which is the road itself, catch basins, infrastructure. The area subject to conservation wouldn't be taken by the town per se. There's two things, there were two decisions. One was a Form F for the subdivision, which allowed for 6 lots to be created, as well as the street. And then there was the open space special permit. This conservation restriction resides in the open space special permit. It's not technically something that would be obtained or would be accepted by the town. So I think the board does have knowledge, as Mr. Blair just indicated, that there was a meeting last week where there was a commitment made, which you have in your packet, to maintain certain aspects, even after street acceptance, which would not ordinarily be required. That would go to the homeowners immediately upon street acceptance, and with the timeline so indicated. So this is really about street acceptance and whether the board's comfortable doing so tonight, having looked at the Quinn report and the outstanding items.
Hey, number one, I think the next time, I think there were other avenues when it's open space to do with the open space land rather than a conservation restriction.
No, they won't let you.
Who won't?
You have to do a conservation restriction. You have to.
I have no idea.
You have to, that's part of it.
Either you could have kept the property and
Yes.
or the town.
I thought you could keep it clean, there was no CR.
Oh, there's a CR even if I keep it?
Pardon?
If it's gonna be kept open, there's gotta be a mechanism to keep it.
Oh,
Open
Space.
space. Yes,
That's
but
right.
there are owners, different owners that could own it.
That doesn't matter, you still need that restriction.
Yeah.
You're saying different
That
ways
still has
to
to be
do
a
it.
condition on that.
But because
But again-
Dave wanted it and wanted the fences, that's where the perpetuity came into play.
It's-
If it would have been just you, it'd have been a standard CR that we've approved on every other,
No,
no?
you stopped, it didn't, you didn't even know Dave was gonna own it at the beginning.
Hey,
We didn't know.
We're getting
We didn't-
off track again.
Well, I think,
Oh,
yeah, but this
it's
is
a learning
conversations.
curve.
It is, and I think this goes to a lot of our
just
points.
wanna- I just wanna very quickly
I don't wanna
note,
be narrow-minded in this.
I just wanna
Sorry.
very quickly note that we did have this meeting, with Peter, actually Ron was there, Clea, and myself, and Dave, and we came to this agreement, on my behalf, not for the planning board. In other words, the planning board, I don't feel the planning board has any obligation to agree to this. I felt, I said I felt, and I think Peter agrees, that it was a reasonable settlement,
Given where we are,
given where we
and what
are.
needs to happen, and the timelines
Okay.
involved, I mean, we're,
Okay.
as Marilyn said,
That's fine.
we are where we are, how do we move forward? And-
Right.
And
But it's not a deal.
That's correct.
It's a suggestion,
Until-
right.
It's a solution.
until the rest of-
Suggestion and a
until the rest
solution.
of the planning board knows.
Can I read that, Norm?
And if I could just, Mr. Chairman,
You've seen it in my
in
packet.
future, and this will be a question to you, Clea, what could have, honestly, now that what you've learned, is next time around gonna be easier? You know what I mean? It's uncharted territories, all this stuff comes up kinda out of the blue. No, I don't think anybody purposely, this stuff happens that gets us to this deadline. It's horrible, but is there something that could have done next time around?
If you choose to continue to have conservation restrictions approved by the state, so the state
I
allowed,
believe it.
they go to the state, then once they get recorded, it takes
Thank
an
you,
act of
dear.
the state legislature in order to change them. So, I would say
Thank
that,
you.
you know, you
Um,
can't really, like, Brice
think we
Estates,
still got
there's no
about 6 more
CR
to go at
in place
least.
on that yet. That's a 112 lot subdivision,
So,
60 acres.
Thank you, anyways.
There's
Alrighty.
no conservation
Right.
restriction yet. But this one was all brand new, and because it's going to the state, it goes to the state now, it went to the state, They kicked it back, they said, well, they were fine with it, but our Concom and our attorneys weren't. So now it had to go, it has to go back.
Yep.
We didn't approve it, so it went back to George. George said he incorporated the changes, he sent it back to them in December. They said he didn't incorporate the changes, but he did. He says he did. Anyways, whatever. We got it back from, we got it back on January 7th or 15th, something like that.
Doesn't sound right.
So, George, for some reason, he didn't see it. And so, yesterday, when he got back, he was away, he went in, accepted the changes that he could accept. There was a couple really small minor things that we couldn't accept, but I know you're not gonna have a problem with it. And then, he has to do a whole new legal description. But in that time, in that process, those changes that were made to that couldn't have been made if we had recorded it like the thing said. I would say that in the future, you don't make it a condition that it happens prior. I mean, I would have appealed that if I had seen it. You know how many open space plans I've done? I have never seen that condition. I wasn't looking for it.
And I think that's a good point. I think that's where it got messed up.
And I want to take another look, because I could have sworn there were like 3 or 4 different things that could happen in open space. And conservation restriction wasn't always in there.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's
No,
interesting,
it is
too,
though.
'cause you're right, it's gotta be a trigger mechanism to allow it, and then,
And you can't tell me, for crying out loud, you can't have something put in a deed that can never be built?
Yeah, that's what I said. But
And see, that's where I'm struggling
Our
now.
attorneys disagree.
Yeah.
The longevity of it is the key.
Yeah, it doesn't last in
Okay.
perpetuity.
And
according to
let's
Dave.
face it,
because
that
deeds
what-
change, right? Deeds change.
No, because
that's what
they
Lenny
go
did,
away.
didn't he?
They'll limit it.
An
Didn't
easement
Lenny
like
do that on all the
goes away
properties
after, what,
on
30
the,
years?
the 2 rock?
30 years,
I call them rock
yes.
houses.
you could,
On,
how did Bert Fist down here, for crying out
on
loud, put
Palmagussit,
on a piece of
you know, the
property,
2
can't touch it,
subdivisions.
for
Remember he divided
99
them all
years.
up into like
no building.
96th.
Oh, yeah,
On-
yeah.
on-
yeah,
on,
but that-
But that's not perpetuity, correct?
Oh, yeah.
This is property
Still-
down
still
here, in
a
the corner,
conservation
right in the
But it's tied to
junction,
the
right
deeds,
across.
right?
Couldn't touch it for 99
The
years,
ownership.
or less, little less than that.
So
But the
that-
home,
Something
homeowner
isn't
still
right.
owns the open space.
All right,
But it was this,
All right, I'm
So I'm
okay.
actually gonna ask a question that's really uncomfortable to me, but I have to ask it anyway, because I'm listening to things. I could be wrong, but I would be surprised if the notion that, if the condition that the CR must be recorded before the first CO is permitted, is allowed, certificate of occupancy, excuse me,
Yeah, it's
is
not.
allowed. It would surprise me if that were a brand-new condition and Maple Hill were the first time that were used. I could be wrong about that, it just feels that way. So I'm wondering, I'm not trying to start a war, I'm not trying to
No,
start a fight, but my question is, does the same permit condition exist on Brice Lemon?
You know what? I don't know if you remember. That was conditionally approved.
that was.
So nobody got any conditions on that at all. But no, it doesn't. I know it doesn't. Take a look. It's on record. You can look at it tomorrow.
We can look
I just asked questions.
we can look at Noble Hill. That was not.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
bill.
I'm not done with that one. So let me ask a question. Reading that letter that I just read, is the overall thought process is that, and I'm not saying the planning board, Norm, the group that met, that moving forward with the road acceptance is okay as long as the process, getting the Concom to get the CR approved is okay and moving forward. That's what I'm trying, I'm trying to get to
Is
Maryland.
everybody happy?
Is everybody happy is what I'm trying to get at.
Right, so also, just one more timeline piece, and I'm sorry to throw this extra piece of information at you. Norm mentioned the meeting that we had. It was the day after that meeting that Melissa sent the email
With the
that you're
timeline.
talking about, with the timeline and everything, and she was unaware of the meeting.
Oh, she launched the space shuttle then.
Yeah,
'Cause that's
he-
right.
I see.
Well, no, that was me.
Okay.
It's all my fault.
Because I broke the glass and pushed the button and launched it because I was out of control. It's like, what the hell? But
So in that meeting,
Yep.
if we, for a moment, ignore the email about
I'm good with
there's
that.
currently a condition and here's the timeline on how long everything's taken. If we ignore that for a minute,
Yep.
there is an agreement to get the CR approved in a way that allows the road acceptance at this town meeting, assuming that planning board as a body accepts this. And it's only planning board that has to accept it, because this is planning board managing its permits and its authority. This is not something Concom has authority over. We're not trying to exert authority over it.
But I want us to be all one big happy
Yeah.
family.
It's never gonna happen.
I just want to point out one kind of little thing, because this agreement all by itself does not guarantee a favorable recommendation.
Correct.
Okay, that's why we had to have this one line scratched out.
No, I just want to make sure, Norm, that if the Concom's on board of how to get this through the state with Clay and George, and you representing us, of course, bring it before the board now for a vote or a thing.
It's not a done deal.
No, and that's what I'm saying.
Accept
If we're all, as a group, multiple boards, are comfortable with this, then I feel a lot better. Because
Right.
unfortunately, the Melissa letter launched me into space. Because I read that, I'm going like, what the? So, to your point, Peter, moving that aside, having this meeting, having the different boards on board, I'm more comfortable with saying, all right, I can move forward with road acceptance based on Quinn's report than what I was when I read Melissa's letter. So that's
When I
given me.
read Melissa's letter, I want to know why the building inspector's still working.
Yeah.
Well, you also have to remember that Viewpoint doesn't track subdivision permits. It tracks individual building permits, and I don't know that we have a way to track the subdivision conditions onto individual building lot permits.
And that's.
Whole different question.
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
make
not
a
gonna go
motion
down.
that the e-permitting system be dropped.
Save us.
Second.
Anyhow.
You know, this is, you know,
So-
I brought up just another thing, this has nothing to do with this. But I just brought up another thing today, today. We recently changed our subdivision regulations to require bounds be placed.
Correct.
Yes.
Prior to,
Yeah.
building permit, okay? There's no way of tracking that.
Bounds.
Yeah.
On the road?
No, on
No.
the properties.
Property
House
lines,
lots.
Property
So-
lines.
Like in a subdivision?
Yeah, new ones.
anything new, obviously, anything previously approved.
No, I know, but you'll ruin them.
For example, your hilltop estates, before a building permit goes in, all property bounds must be in.
That's
But
another
if
discussion.
you have to have the road finished. You'll ruin it. You can't.
Were you talking just like a wooden stake with a
No.
orange,
No, permanently marked.
Permanently.
like
permanently.
granite?
You-
No.
Granite.
Granite
or-
or
You'll ruin it
Stewart
through
Road.
front corners. You can't do it with the road.
I don't follow you though.
So if you got a lot, and you gotta put a bound on the right of way, right? So,
The bound will be on the property line.
yeah, but it's in the right of way. It's at the right of way too.
But the
So when
question,
you're building the road and the sidewalk and all that, you'll wreck it. You can't do the front corners, you have to wait. You'd wreck the bound, you'd run it over with the bulldozer. The back is fine, I mean, that's not gonna hurt nothing, but there's no way you can do that.
Well,
You
even the
can't build a
back,
house,
yeah.
that's why we put the bounds in for the street while we did you can't,
Still
you
gotta
ruin
put
them.
fill in the back too, what if you gotta put fill in, you gotta do all that, I mean, I hear what he's saying, yeah.
There's no way you can do them prior, no way.
What if the backyard's like this and you bound down there and then you put in 3 feet of fill?
You can't do it.
Back or
Sure
front?
it's before?
I thought
I thought it was after Norm. I thought it was, they had to do it.
Maybe before occupancy.
Maybe before occupancy.
Yeah, before
honestly,
occupancy.
Yeah.
It's
there's-
before occupancy,
Okay,
Clay.
because there's no way you can do a bound.
Because Julian was in here saying, I can't put bounds down when I'm building. And we said, okay, well then you put the bounds down before the occupancy, and I think that's how it was written. But I have to look.
Once you're done with that, you're fine.
Yeah.
But other than that, you'll run
I've
out.
got a hunch that's what it is.
Yeah.
lots of stuff is not getting tracked, let's face it.
The bottom line is, yeah, we have no way of really tracking that.
Right.
I gotta tell you, you guys know I don't get away with shit. You guys are crazy. You stay on top of me, fine. Honestly, God, I'm not. Just saying that, I mean,
Have we done with number 6 now?
Yeah.
What are we on?
So does that
Seven.
need a vote or no?
I'm having a hard time distinguishing between number 6 and number 7.
Yeah, what needs a vote? We need votes
That's
on-
one.
No, I need to get the other number.
Number 5. Number 6 is Maple Hill State Subdivision
I want
Administration.
George Carizzi.
Board acceptance.
So what are you saying, where are you?
6, I think we just did we not? Was 6 just kind of covered as needed? We just discussed everything, and then number 7 on to when we're reviewing
I'll find that.
an actual street recommendation?
I'll find that.
All right.
So,
You ready?
do we just have 2 things on the Quinn report that's open and that's it? 5 and 13. I'm sorry, make that 8 and 13.
Yeah.
Are those the only things that are open?
Recent sidewalk.
Yeah, March 22nd.
Yeah, March 22nd.
And then 13.
I guess it was 5, 8, and 13, I'm sorry.
5.
5 was the professional engineering.
As with plans must be.
This stamp.
So,
Is that not this
do we
one?
need something from, I'm just, again, dotting the i's, do we need something from Director?
I thought we had everything, maybe Dave can answer your question.
Yeah, that's what I was looking.
We have a copy of the as-built plans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are they stamped?
Yes.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, but it says per, the as must be certified prior to acceptance per section. So, it's stamped. I see stamps.
So it's stamped.
Okay. So why doesn't it say resolved in here after 5?
For number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, no penalty, so that was I would think it was all set. Number 8 is recent sidewalk paving is building and sidewalk.
See what I'm saying, Norm? It doesn't
Yeah,
say.
it doesn't say resolved.
So, it's not that I don't believe it's done, I just
Yeah.
don't see,
I'm gonna say it's.
we've got it, okay.
Oh, we have the plans right here. This is the full-size as.
That is.
All right.
I have an engineer's
Well,
stamp.
Well, good. It didn't say.
I know.
If I don't, and 5 didn't, 5 doesn't say anything after, or 8 doesn't say anything after either, so that's why I'm like, is it done? So, I guess I need to ask that.
What? What's it?
It
Number
says,
8.
8 says, recent sidewalk paving work has resulted in sidewalk being higher than adjacent finished grade. Additional loam should be placed to make sidewalks flush with adjacent finished grades. But there's nothing after it, so I
We
guess.
didn't do that yet.
But I also think that with
Almost
the,
like soup.
Okay.
that's the
No,
thing
I
with
get
the-
it.
With the
Yeah,
weather
it's-
where it is right
yeah.
now, it's.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
But
there's another.
that, we haven't done
I
that
saw
yet.
another
We
sheet
did
that
fix
said
the
it would be fixed and
vegetable.
that's
Okay.
weather permitted.
I'm good with that, it just doesn't
Right,
say
no, I'm
anything here.
just saying.
No, it doesn't, but it doesn't on 15 either. The street must be swept. I mean, we're gonna go out there right now and check and make sure it was swept before we approve. I mean, it was
I'm
not, there was not a lot of sand there the other day when we walked it. Virtually
I
any
saw-
that I saw.
What about 13, areas between the roadway and the basin spillway appear to have been disturbed by recent work near the spillway?
We worked. it
Again, is
yesterday.
that gonna be is that a spring thing and then the grass?
Yeah.
I'm good.
We had to fix
Okay.
the grass, yeah, yeah.
I'm good with that. So I don't see any issues open,
Nope. I don't even-
other than a CR not being right.
Good.
So, that leads us to our recommendation, which
This is where we have to send this to the select board, right, Norm?
yes, and I discussed this at least a little bit with Dave, because there's still a couple of obviously outstanding issues. The loan they gotta bring in from the sidewalk and that sort of thing that cannot be done. But the timeline for the selectmen to do all of their stuff, what do we have?
We're looking for an example of how to handle this
Oh, okay.
type of situation.
The timelines the selectmen need to do their public hearing and blah, 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 and all that kind of nice stuff, really, at least they feel they need a recommendation like now.
I say we recommend it.
It does not have to be an unconditional recommendation. And that's what I discussed with Dave, that we can either give the recommendation as a preliminary recommendation with whatever details. So let me just read this one for the heck of it. That was March 23rd, this is from 2021. This was from phase 1 of Brice Lemon. March 23rd, 21, the planning board meeting finished its review of the street acceptance request for the roads associated with Brice Lemon, blah, 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 blah. Based on the above, the board recommends to the selectmen that the roads associated with phase 1 be accepted subject to the following outstanding items. Item 5, so this blah, 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 on the March 17th Quinn engineering report.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with that.
Which is the same thing on the March 22nd Quinn engineering report.
Mm-hmm. So, I guess, the question is, can we make that statement of recommendation?
You could even clarify it a little bit.
For Maple
Say,
Hill Estates.
Yeah.
And only Maple Hill Estates.
as
All right, so what's this thing with Critzy, the law office?
Change, so
He's just asking for, I believe, this is.
Okay, first thing I say is, why isn't Maple Hill Estates in that RE, where it says RE? Why isn't Maple Hill Estates there?
What are you talking about?
And then-
Sorry, hang on.
Do you mind
you're
if I sit
talking
up
about
with
the
And
wall?
go up 3 lines from the bottom,
What are we talking about?
and what do you see?
I think it's this one.
3 lines up.
You're on what, number 7?
This was a big one.
It says
That was from
Number
the other
7.
day. That was from the other day. This is.
Woodside Avenue.
What have you got now?
No, Bryce, it says Bryce Lemon on it, down the bottom, not Maple Hill.
And it says Woodside Avenue,
It
too.
says Teresa Drive here, so, yeah.
You're looking at number 7, you're looking at
Oh.
number 9.
Oh,
What is
I
yours?
got 9. We're
So anyways, I feel that he was copying,
He was.
and that's
It
what.
was 7.
So that, send it back to him, and that'll take 2 weeks.
That'll take 5 seconds in the morning. But I'll fix it.
It is separate, I think, and it's typos.
This is just for our information. This is to the select board, not to us.
Well, let's help them
Well-
be successful. It's a phrase I always use as an engineer.
Just trying to read.
What is it though, just a review?
It says
Maple
Bryce
isn't owned by
Lemon
Bryce
instead of
Lemon.
Maple Hill.
It's owned by,
That's what we've
Blair
been talking about.
Must
right
have-
here.
must have
Yeah, the very
taken a
first
couple
time.
golf balls
Yeah.
off the head.
And this was done 2 years ago.
Vacation.
It's
Oh,
not that
yeah.
I was, kissing up her.
Yeah, and the other thing we have is, I'm pretty sure that this letter shouldn't have been dated in 2021.
Yeah.
no, that's when we submitted it.
And the date of the letter is,
yeah.
this goes
That's
back
right.
to fall, and this was not ready for
Yeah.
fall town meeting last year, it was held
Oh.
now. So
Yeah.
we just provided the same cover letter, which has the sheet, and then there's the motion for use of layout ways, which reflects as correctly as Teresa Drive, and then the rest of the information, the legal description seems to be adequate. So this is resubmitted to the board for this purpose tonight, to see whether the board can make a recommendation on this or not. That's the original letter, but it was held last year.
Just try to get credit from Carizzi on this document that he charged you. You know what I mean? Be like, look, you charged me $400 to write this thing up 2 years ago, get your money back. And then,
It's already been spent, there's a new Cadillac parked out front. It's a DeVille, but it is.
Okay, so did you need a vote on sending it to the selectmen?
Yes.
sending a favorable recommendation.
After it's
A
fixed.
conditional favorable.
With conditional favorable recommendation.
With the conditions that those,
Yeah.
as weather permits. I make a motion that we send this recommendation to the select board that the streets on Teresa Ave and Maple Hill Estates be accepted by the town with the conditions, 3 conditions.
And the language you want the CR?
Yes?
Okay.
Dave.
So all the outstanding items on the Quinn report
Yeah.
in the conservation district.
Hold that drawing
Oh,
up that you
yes.
had one more time, that you said had all the stamps on it.
That's Bryce.
You're looking at a different one.
Yeah, I've got one in this package. It doesn't have all the stamps.
Well, it's probably like three.
That's the official copy, the final.
Oh, this is his 2021 copy.
Yeah.
That's,
Both stamps in there.
all right, let me just for my edification that, I like this.
And you also have
A
smaller
revision plan up
size.
top.
You
I was a
also
happy
have-
camper now.
You also have smaller size in your package, your supplemental for this, of this site, of this one.
Yeah, but see, the problem I have with this one, it has a revision 1 on it. It says 3/14/22 with no stamp. That thing says 3/22 with a stamp. I'm just saying.
That's in your packet, that's the official packet.
Yeah, I get that, but it's just, let's
Okay,
move on.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I did second it.
You did.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Third.
Any further discussion? In favor?
Aye.
It's getting late.
You kidding me? I've already been asleep for half an
Yeah,
hour
right.
by now. It's 9:30. I get up at 4:30.
Okay, next item. Brice Lemon Subdivision Registration. And once again, I don't really know how we can not tie 8 and 9 together.
What's 8 and 9?
Brice Lemon updates
The
consultants.
subdivision administration
I don't
is
worry.
8, and the road acceptance is number 9.
I don't have 8.
There is no
I don't
8.
think there is an 8.
Oh, there is no 8.
There's no update, is there, from,
Skips right to number 9.
Okay, number 9. The first problem is an RE, Brice Lemon subdivision phase.
Oh.
What?
It says
Phase
phase
one.
1, it should be phase 2.
Jesus.
Once again, this is to the Board of Selectmen, not to us.
Well,
And once again,
we're not approving Woodside, are we?
Portions of it,
Yeah,
Phase 2.
yeah.
Oh, it's from the station, it's the station.
Stations to, yeah.
35 and 27, okay.
In Oakland.
Only see one catch base.
That's right. It's supposed to be 2.
That's all fixed. It's old.
Which one? Which from all? There's a
Oak-
catch basin at the end of 2 that's buried. That is submerged and buried in silt.
Yeah.
And you can't even see the catch basin anymore.
No, we saw 2 when we had our walk.
He's talking about the one on the corner of
The one,
Oakland.
yeah, you're talking about the one on
Yeah.
Oakley.
Yeah,
Yeah, the one that has no throne.
yeah.
Now.
But anyways, I just,
So, let me ask my question again. Are these drawings the same as Dave has with the
Look at
correct?
the- I gave you the new ones.
This is ASB 1 and 2. One I was fine with, it was 2 that I was curious about. The catch basin that wasn't there. There's the update.
Might be a more recent one. It just came in today. I gave it to Dave in 11 by 17.
Yeah, which is why I circulated to the board as well.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, this right here. Yeah, that's, yeah. Sorry, thank you for reminding me of that. This is the most recent information for the supplement.
I'll give you this back.
Thank you.
Got enough?
No,
All
no,
right.
no.
Yeah, right here.
Don't worry about it.
That's it.
Who else needs one?
I'll grab one.
Those had the as-built plans and the bound cert. He was cranking up there.
Okay. That's what I was looking to see. The revision from yesterday. Reviewed by Quinn.
yeah, catch basin 41A and 41 is on this plan.
Yeah, I see it too. And it's on this updated one that I got,
Yeah,
that Dave
okay.
has, so it's there. Okay,
And it's stamped.
yeah. Yeah, and it's updated. So this is the one that should be going with the package that goes to the select board, correct?
Yeah, that,
Okay.
that actually is for after.
Yeah, they're not gonna look at it.
No, well, they're just gonna read what George wrote, and that's gonna be
I'll
the
give
end
you
of
that
it.
back for Dave. Okay. So,
Okay, so
either we're-
basically, we're kind of at the same point that we were on Maple Hill.
What date are you on there, Norm?
22?
This is March 22nd, this is
March
latest.
22nd?
That's what you were just handed.
Oh,
It's in this pocket, in this one,
March 22nd?
yeah.
Oh, right there, okay.
So, I would call this the latest and greatest.
Let me compare.
So we have 5 that is up to us to make a call on.
5 was the street,
Trees,
trees rather, yeah, was okay with that.
so is, and 9, what's 9?
Infiltration system.
It's all been resolved. Comment is listed in the submitted information was completed, and this comment may be resolved. However, I won't have the opportunity to look inside the manhole to confirm prior to the, is that 9?
Yeah.
So what he asked for was, when we laid all the pipes, the drain pipes, you put the infiltrator gallery at the end of the pipe, right? Well, all the pipes were low, so the infiltrator gallery was a foot, or 7/10 lower than it was supposed to be. So he wanted a mounting analysis to make sure that it was high enough above groundwater to still meet the regulation. We submitted that, it did. It was in fill anyway, so it didn't have a problem. That's resolved. He just hasn't had a chance to look at that yet. We gave him the mounting analysis that he was looking for.
So we
That's
could,
all set.
Norm, do the same thing in our letter to the select board, just basically
yeah.
say, I'm fine with
But
that.
it's, there's,
What's this next one about the inverts have not been labeled? Number 11,
That's all done. It's on that plan.
okay. Oh, and he hasn't seen this. Well,
He
hold
just
it.
got this, I just got this from Julian this afternoon. So I think I sent it to Kyle just today.
Okay,
And the bound cert, it's there, all stamped.
so that,
The what again?
The bound certification, saying that the bounds are all set, signed by it. That's been submitted by-
In other words, this old one here, 32?
Well, that's part of it, but Joe, there was a fence already built, and Tommy asked Joe if it was okay to put a spike under the fence rather than put a bound, because we'd have to tear the fence down. Joe said it was fine. So he let us put a railroad spike there.
Okay.
so that's 9. What else?
One of them, he asked us to take pictures inside the pipe. He thought it would, because it was so deep, he thought it would have crushed, but it didn't, as you can see.
What about the fire hydrant?
No, we haven't raised it yet. We ordered the piece,
Okay,
but we didn't raise it yet.
so that's gotta be in part of our letter to the select board.
yeah, and once again, the two things, as far as I'm concerned, is this is only a preliminary recommendation. And our guide is, does it look like these things are very reasonably, easily doable prior to the selectmen having to take their action?
What about 26, Clay? That seems, that's the whole wheelchair ramp.
No, that's easy to fix. It's just that the asphalt plants aren't open.
No, I'm just saying, because I think that's been on there.
No, not on this one. We just put those in. And Kyle just had a chance to go out and look at it. That was on the other
Okay.
one.
Oh, that was on the first one that we did?
Those wheelchair ramps are a real pain in the bum.
Yeah. Okay. So again, Norm, we could say these are all part of spring cleanup?
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. But they need to be detailed in that recommendation.
Yes, each one of these.
Yeah.
So when you guys, this is different, like I said, a lot. I do this in a lot of towns. It's never, the planning board normally, it would hold a hearing at the meeting, at the town meeting, and decide whether or not it even gets brought up. They always get put on the warrant, but this town does it different. They wait for the planning board to say, oh, it's okay to put on the warrant, and but they have to hold a hearing.
Yeah.
So, if you don't recommend it soon enough, they can't get it on the warrant, they can't hold a hearing, and, so it's a real problem, I mean. Maybe we could change the policy. It never used to be like this.
We'll put it on the list.
Yeah.
We still usually give a recommendation at town meeting on the floor.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I mean, if we conditionally recommend this, we could legitimately do 180 degrees on the floor and say no.
Right, and that doesn't mean the town's gonna vote that way. But
Correct.
still
No,
do it.
it's the same thing.
But in a lot of towns, like in Holden, they won't even bring it up. If the planning board says no, it doesn't even if it's on the warrant, it doesn't come to a vote.
Oh, really?
I got so mad at them, I didn't know that they could do that. They just pulled it right off.
I didn't know you could pull off warrants once conditioned.
They did.
Did you plow the roads that winter?
I wasn't going to.
So they ended up going, I'm just curious, how does that all?
The town of Leicester charged me $90,000 for plowing. And we took them to court. It is illegal to even put that in the bond. Has nothing to do with building the street. So the only thing that can be put in the bond is what has to do with building the street.
Correct.
Plowing and sanding it's costly. I mean, and it really,
Ask
it's
Joe about
dangerous
that.
if you don't do it. You get people get hurt, and so.
Ask Joe how much free cash is gonna be absorbed this year from his snow and ice budget. About most of it. I mean, Norm, I'm okay, and this is just me personally, recommending this to the select board with these, things that are gonna be finished in the spring, just to get it on the warrant and get the hearing started.
Well, it's a motion.
Oh, man. Do I gotta name each one of these?
No, a conditional recommendation.
A motion to conditionally recommend a street acceptance for the extension of Woodside Ave from Station 35 plus 50 to Station 27, including Oakley Circle.
Before you do that, I'm sorry, there might be people in the audience who might
Oh.
be interested in this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep. Anyone from the public wish to be heard?
There's Stephen.
Yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, I live at 49 Woodside, and my name's George Trianaflacos, and I've discussed the issue about the catch basin, and I noticed you guys also just made a comment how it's been buried when you guys made your visits, I think last week. What's like the action plan that you guys are going to take? Because obviously the water flow with the slope, the water flow is not even, it's just overpassing the catch basin and just continues to go down my driveway. I don't know if you guys took a look at my driveway. It's actually sinking in to the right of the driveway where the easement is.
Hey, George, this is Clee. I thought I asked you a couple times last summer how that was working, and you said it was working good.
Yeah, that was at the beginning when you guys did it, but it doesn't look. It appears that it's actually shooting through, especially now that all the trees have been removed and you've been clearing land up on top of London Circle.
That's not.
So it's actually it's affecting it now more.
It doesn't feed that area.
Cleared.
It's uphill from there, George. It doesn't feed that area. But if it was working before, how is it not working now? And I have to say, it's on a lot. It has nothing to do with it.
Okay, this is the one that just.
Where we had the drop inlet way up on the guy's
With a
lot.
little tiny thing like this.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, you guys can clearly see it's buried with the rocks. All the rocks are coming down with the water flow.
Not working in the springtime.
I can put in a big one, doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I would say. When I looked at
And-
that grate and I said,
And also just to mention, there's actually water coming from other directions now, not from the, from the slope of where the drainage easement is.
I'll have to take a look. I mean, it's really not street acceptance issue, George, but I'm happy to take a look at it for you. I mean, I thought we had it fixed.
That was a swale in the back that went over to
Yeah, we put it,
the retention area that went underneath and over to the detention
we
pond.
put a drop in and we piped it into the
Yeah.
catch basin.
Yeah,
because I was just having a clean. Grates, that by that.
so we'll put in a 3x3.
We put in a bigger grate.
So
we
you're
got
saying that the
12
water's
inches.
flowing over the grate and going?
There's 12 inches of pipe.
Yeah, I mean, the catch basin's probably, it's a small catch basin, so I mean, I don't know if a larger catch basin would solve the issue, but, I mean, it's still shooting over it, so I'm not an expert, but I mean.
You have to get me some pictures, or I'd have to see it when it's happening, and I could tell you what's going on, Could be just because it's frozen,
Catch it.
you
Need
know?
some catching.
No, it's definitely not
Velocity
frozen right now.
limiters.
I mean, you can.
No, not right now, no. But when it happens, I mean, it's really, honestly, it's not a planning board issue, it's a CLE issue. I mean, I'm happy to look at it for you. Like
And
I
now
said,
the
I thought
rain's
it was
coming
fixed.
tomorrow, would be a perfect time to look at it.
Get some video.
Thursday.
Get some video of it.
Tomorrow's
Yeah.
Wednesday, and Thursday is a good time to look at it, because there's supposed to be torrential downpours.
Right. Yeah. No, I know. Yeah. I'll definitely take some videos and.
Let me see what's happening, okay, and we thought we had it fixed, George.
Yeah. Yeah. There's stuff I want to do in the backyard. And I really can't do it without that being taken care of. I can't do anything yet.
Well, we'll take a look. Like I said,
Okay.
From our discussion, I thought it was all set, and I never heard from you, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else from the public? I don't hear anybody.
All right.
You want to continue your motion, Tim?
Yes, I was including I'm reading off George, because he does it.
Tim, it's on the screen if that helps.
Oh, there it is, yes. Motion for street acceptance for Brice Lemon Subdivision Phase 2.
Phase 2, not Phase 1.
Yeah, from Woodside Ave, Station 35 plus 50 to Station 27 plus 00, including Oakley Circle, formerly known as Millbrook Circle, Station 0 plus 00 to Station 2 plus 60.00. With, what am I going to say? With I was going to say satisfied, but that's not the word I'm looking for.
Completed?
Completed, thank you. Completed items per the Quinn report, being part of Quinn Engineering report dated March 22nd, 2022, as part of the final condition for street acceptance.
Second that.
I guess. That's it?
I think so. Can I just ask, is it Oakley Circle or Oakley Drive? Because I've heard both. I'm just not sure.
I think it's Oakley
It says
Circle.
Oakley Drive on this.
It does? Okay, then it's Oakley Drive.
The map I'm looking at right now is Oakley Drive.
I amend it to Oakley Drive, because George
Woodside
made
Ave,
another
Oakley
$400
Drive.
mistake.
Or Julian did, one or the other.
I'm gonna
You got
go
some money
Julian.
coming back to you then, right?
I'm gonna
No,
go.
I never seem to get credits.
Well, it says Oakley Drive on both drawings, so.
I see Oakley Drive there, so.
Actually, if I could, we have a sample motion for use to lay out ways, and I have Oakley Circle there. We have a certificate of laying out ways, I have Oakley Circle there. We have legal description of easements with reference to Millbrook Circle, now known as Oakley Circle, so it seems to be Oakley Circle's predominant reference throughout the document.
Was Julie?
Not Oakley Drive.
Why does it?
Well, there's gonna be a Rev 3.
I'd like to go with the predominant reference to the
But we can
document.
still
Yeah, I can still move
move
forward.
forward.
Yeah.
Right.
And can I add, with, as part of my motion, withdrawing being updated to Rev 3 to indicate that it's Oakley Circle, not Oakley Drive.
What do the residents call it? That would be funny, right? Is it Palmagussit with an O or an A, right?
Well, there's a street sign, I can tell you, I'm not going out and look.
Yeah, right. Oh, that might be wrong, though, right?
Just says Oakley on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I see it. Oh, we got a motion, do we have a second?
A second. Oh, you
Just-
second.
just already good.
Any further discussion? In favor?
Right.
Okay. Getting somewhere.
Any chance I can go home now?
Actually, you can stay around for this forest clearing thing.
Oh, sure.
I think they need to hear from you exactly what this
Saw
is.
some.
I mean, I have an explanation.
Okay. Okay, just moving along. Item 10, Brintnal Estates. We have nothing new in terms of reports, I don't believe.
No, nothing new,
And then moving on to number 11, Bear Hill 2.
nothing new on that.
Nothing new on that, other than I noticed they are installing utilities up there.
Electric. And all the houses are sold. Every one of them. Didn't take long.
Crazy.
How many houses get sold twice before they even move in first person? Does that ever happen? I'm serious. Somebody could have bought that yesterday and sell it before they move in, right? No?
Oh, yeah.
That happened?
They could, yeah. I've never had it happen.
Make a quick 50 grand or something and never even call a moving truck. I don't know, I'm just saying, probably could happen.
Okay, on to number 12, McAllister Estates Forest Clearing Plan. I don't know.
I do have a question on this because I don't know where McAllister is.
Yeah, I do.
Kind of across from the Treasure Valley solar system.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Solar field sitting right here.
Some of the service.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I see, you got your map there. Yeah.
And there's a road.
Yeah, I just couldn't find anything identifying on your maps.
One more picture right here.
But they
This
don't-
is Pleasantdale Road right here. Solar fields are here. There are two.
Yeah,
There's
okay, that's
right
close
there.
enough, yeah.
But also, this is the other old subdivision, right here, and there was an easement going into there.
Yep. It's just nothing identified where it was.
There's no
on this
definitive
map.
plan for it.
Yeah.
There's no subdivision definitive
But I mean,
plan.
there wasn't, no road was identified.
Oh, no.
There really isn't much of
No.
anything, period. Kind of doesn't exist.
Except for you have my money.
Yes, yes.
And we're loving to willing to give it back to you.
And, so what did DCR?
Yeah, what's going on with this? Because I'm
Because usually
confused.
DCR is really, right on top of any forest action, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of wetlands involved in this thing here.
Well, they issued it on the 22nd, today. We got it today. Issued. So, at least that's what he told Stevie, it was all set as of today. Chris.
But there's nothing in our special permit for this, correct?
There is no special permit.
I thought there was a special permit, but no subdivision definitive plan.
Both have been submitted.
No action, 2 years?
Yeah.
Special permit's gone.
Oh,
Yeah, one gone.
so there is no McAllister Estates.
That's what I said.
Okay. I'm just refreshing with, okay,
Yeah, I
I'll
didn't-
zip it.
I didn't
So
realize
then-
it was
What do we
flying
start?
on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I'm gonna
This
go
is
with
a
Marilyn's
forest.
question. What do we
What are
have
we
to do
doing?
with this?
Yeah, what are we doing?
This is new to me.
Yeah.
Forest.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is for the board's information only.
Okay.
Staff received a request for information from the state, from the forester regarding the forest management plan, which is in the packet. The question that they had was, what types of permits have been issued by the planning board on this? So the history was given to this person named Chris Capone, the forester, indicating that there was a definitive plan that was never finished and realized. That there was an open space plan, never finished and realized. And for his purposes, that was adequate information, that's pretty much the end of it. Except, this is just before the board, because this was brought to the planning board's attention, or planning staff's attention. So in an effort to make the board aware of this type of correspondence, here's the update. This is the response. This individual indicates that he's all set, as you can see in this part of the email right here.
So I'll tell you why. If there's an approved subdivision, and you're gonna do work on it within a year, they can't issue that. So that's why, I think he was under the impression that there was an approved
He
subdivision.
just didn't see the 2007 special permit initial issue, did he?
No. No, but he thought that there was a subdivision, and he can't issue a permit if we're gonna be doing, because it allows cutting in a wetland and things like that, so they don't allow it if there's an approved subdivision, that's why.
So right now, yeah, you guys are just going along with the standard forestry plan under 61A guidelines. Or whatever that, you know, again, I'm not trying to ask those
61's forest.
whatever that is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
Just
No,
information
no.
for us, you got a
Nope.
plan, and then
Yep, I'm gonna
McAllister Estates will maybe come up.
well, not completely,
Well, thanks for the information.
anytime. Now can I go home? Please?
I think we're done with you.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything tonight, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
And tell
Yeah.
George, next time, have another cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell George to
Have
cut
another
and
cup of
paste.
coffee.
He needs to get an admin that's really good at it.
He
Quit
does it
trying
all
to be his own.
himself.
Quit trying to be his own admin, because his word skills are falling to the wayside.
Well,
Yeah, and
thanks.
sorry about Melissa launched me. When I read that email, I was adamantly blown. I was frustrated, wound up, ready to come today, and like, I want somebody dead. So now that I know there was an agreement with,
Now it's fixed.
Yeah,
We're all
fixed.
set.
Well,
Next.
And it wasn't that I tried to, pull a fast one or do anything that I didn't know.
no, Clea, I
would
wasn't.
never,
My argument was the
agree to
system,
that.
was the software system of, and how it was being handled. That's what I was struggling with.
There's very little that I can't think of anything I get away with.
You want me to give you a list?
Conditions of approval.
Hold on a
I
second.
can, I mean, really, you guys stay on top of it, they stay on top of it.
Yeah, Dave's a huge asset. Before we're
Good night,
struggling
everybody.
ourselves.
Thank you.
Night.
Good night.
So what are we on to? 13, 12?
13.
I was struggling when I saw that.
13, and then make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Delay, we can't go any further.
So 13 or 14 only exists in your packet because the package size was otherwise, it was too large. So you just have the information, Mr. Schiff, you'd just like to explain that to the public?
So,
You have all your information, I'm just gonna leave it to you.
okay, 13 is revisions to the Scenic Road General Bylaw, which the ad hoc bylaw committee has been working on, and so forth. And since the planning board basically is, I guess I'll call it kind of the enforcing body on scenic roads, they've asked us to review changes that they have made. I'm hoping Peter will come back. The format has changed. I think in your packet you have both the existing bylaw and the new one. The existing is in the back of the bunch.
On 13?
No, it's 14.
Oh, it's 14.
On 13, the definition of day and working day and.
That's for signs.
That's for signs. We're not up to signs yet.
We're on 14,
We're on
not 13.
The packet is mislabeled. Okay, you should be looking at 14.
So there's no 13. I have a 13 and no 14.
13 is signs. 14 is...
Signs is.
Signs. I'm getting there. Give me a second.
14, all right.
Now,
Jesus is.
changes to scenic roads. Okay, I got so many bylaws floating around in my head. From the
There we go. 14, got it.
I don't remember all things.
Oh, you remember when this,
But
I threw up and left.
the, first of all, changes, the format of the bylaws change to, well, one of the things that we're doing is we're creating a uniform format for all general bylaws. Every single one, now starts with a purpose, then an authority, then definitions, then duties, or whatever things, which was, everything was a hodgepodge in the original. So you're definitely gonna see that kind of different things. In terms of substantive changes, and here, glad Peter is back. To me, the most significant change is that in the original scenic road bylaw, there was no provision for removing the scenic road designation.
Oh, okay.
There was no explicit, there was mention of it very briefly, and we extended the language throughout to make it more clear.
And I'm gonna leave it to you, Peter, for the rest.
The one thing,
Windows closed?
Peter, I gotta ask, is the one thing on the scenic roads, and maybe I'm missing it, is that my misconception for years was they couldn't be touched in a paving standpoint or anything like that.
That is not correct.
And exactly, that's what I've understand now, is that is an incorrect assumption on a scenic road.
Now, what we did, one of the consequential changes was that we now said that planning board needs to hold a hearing if they're going to transition from unpaved to paved.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Question maybe for you or anybody, is there a different definition of a scenic road? Is there such a thing as a historic road?
No, at least I have never seen it.
I'm just, again, so scenic road is the only
Scenic road.
designation other than,
And it's from MGL.
so we have basically, is this a correct statement as well, there's two types of roads in Rutland, there's scenic and non-scenic?
Yes.
Scenic
I'm not
and
saying
ugly?
state
Yeah,
roads
yeah,
have, but there's either a scenic road or not scenic road, okay, just wanna make sure I understand.
We have some scenic roads that are non-scenic.
Yes.
Right, but I just didn't know, again, going back to history and Rutland, is there
Oh,
a
yeah.
historic road where
No.
this has a certain designation because it's classified different, so there's
Yeah.
only two classifications of roads, okay, I'm just making sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so we have 7 scenic roads in this town.
And there may be,
There's
we'll
could be
see what
more.
historical commission does at
Yeah.
this town meeting.
Yes, but right now there's just 7 that are designated scenic roads.
So a very minor but still consequential change is a butter notification went from 100 to 300 feet on, which is this planning board standard for hearings.
For about a notification.
And we made the process a bit more explicit. We thought it was too fuzzy. And in fact, there is another change that I would call consequential. The current bylaw says that planning, Concom, or historical can recommend, and that it must be acted upon at town meeting, which means that the select board must add the article to the warrant, but I can think of no other place where an appointed board can tell an elected board what to do. So we instead made it more clear that
Request.
that people can request that an article be added to the town meeting warrant. And finally, the other big change is before that happens, anyone who wants to, if any of the boards are considering it, that they must hold a very well publicized, my words here, not the bylaws, public information session, so that every everybody knows what the heck is going on. You can't just say, we're holding a session about scenic roads. You have to say, we are considering making this section of this road or the entirety of this road. Olive Ridge Road, we want to make the whole thing a scenic road. So that everybody on Ridge Road can see that and anybody knows that that's what they're talking about in the agenda. So we made those requirements much more explicit.
And can the town remove a road from being scenic?
Yes.
Same process.
Same basic process.
Gotta go before town
The
meeting.
only thing, there is in fact one thing that we're talking about still in the committee. In order to make a scenic, to add scenic road designation requires a simple majority vote at town meeting. The question we're trying to answer is, should there be a different threshold to remove scenic road designation? And we're doing some research before we make that decision.
I have a question.
Yes.
Regarding the information session.
Yes.
Who's responsible to put the information session on? The entity that is promoting the roads?
Yes. So if planning board wants to do it, so I'll just take the last round with historical commission wants to put 5 roads on. Historical commission has to hold the meeting. It is not a public hearing. It is a meeting. It's an information session. Specifically because we didn't want to make a body that doesn't have a funding source to pay for abutter notices and newspaper postings and everything else that goes with a hearing. So we made a conscious decision to not require a hearing, but only a meeting/information session.
The only thing that I'm not seeing, and maybe it's just because I'm not seeing it, is you define the destruction of the stone wall and the scenic road.
That
But I
requires
don't.
planning board,
Yeah, I'm fine with that. But what I remember from the old scenic roads is a replication of it somewhere, and I don't
That's
see.
compensatory actions. Which, give me a moment, I'll give you a sectional reference.
Is that only to scenic roads?
That's under.
Yes, only the scenic roads.
I think that is,
I was looking for it, Norm. I couldn't find it.
it's under violations and penalties.
Yes.
Oh, that's an interesting area for it to be used. Maybe because I didn't think to look there.
Well, actually, it's not just there, it's also in deliberation and decision. So I'm in, hold on.
I looked under
it. Reference 5. Let's see. D is public hearing, C is deliberation. So it's, yeah.
Because it says under deliberations. I saw that compensatory action may include planting of trees or construction or reconstruction of stone wall.
Yep.
But it doesn't go into, I take down 200 feet of stone wall, I have to rebuild 200 feet of stone wall. In the old bylaw, I thought we basically said it was a 1-for-1.
That is a decision of the planning board in granting the permit and placing conditions on the permit.
Okay, I'm fine with that. So that would be under if somebody was building an A&R or something like that, or a subdivision, we take care of it there. I'm okay then. Okay, good, thanks. Just wanted to make sure I covered that, because that was, I remember one thing that, especially on Brintnal, with everything that's going in. Not so much Sassawan, it's pretty built up. Or what can be built. So, we talked to Joe and get you a paved road? We talked to Joe and get you a paved road?
Boy, wouldn't that be nice?
That would be something different. Actually, they came down and they just touched it with the grader.
And it's 110% better?
Oh, boy. Like night and day.
Well, I just saw Mr. Baker is getting $9 billion, so all we need is 14 million to fix all of our roads, and we're good.
Okay, we done the scenic roads?
I'm done. I think I'm good with it.
good with it.
And, yeah,
I don't have
and
any-
going back through all those town reports that it was talking about, you wouldn't believe how many times. It did seem like Brintnal, there was quite a few of them in there though, dirt roads, how many times they were scraped
Oh,
or graded.
yeah.
Can I ask one quick one? On the bottom of the new bylaws, will these, I call them revisions, be listed on all the new bylaws?
History, yes.
Yeah, okay, great.
Is there, and just a question too, are there any roads currently on the application process to become scenic roads?
Technically, no, because the select board has not been requested to add them. There were requests for 5 roads, is that what it
Yeah,
was?
So there has been,
Five.
so there are some.
Well,
Yeah.
but that was at the last town meeting and it was never gotten through the entire process. And to my knowledge, that request has not been put forth for this town meeting.
Who brought that last one? I'm just curious.
Historical.
But they didn't do it again this
I
time.
have not heard, but the meeting, the warrant
It's
was
not
only
closed.
opened last
Gotcha,
night,
gotcha,
so.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, before we move on to the next one, is this conversation sufficient to give you the information that you need from the planning board's
Yeah,
perspective
yes.
regarding the exchange? All right, thank you.
If there is any feedback, please send it and we'll consider it as we have.
There's a
all the
period
other-
missing in,
And all bylaws
Lot of work,
that take
thank
more
you.
than 5 minutes to adjudicate.
No doubt.
Yes, this will be a fascinating town meeting, we think.
Oh, boy. Will it?
as long as you put all of these changes before the school budget.
Oh, jeez.
Make them stay.
But
Yeah.
I warned the select board that
So that
the
was
sequence
14
of
first,
articles
now
is
13.
likely to be an element of contention when they decide to place.
Yeah, well,
Back to.
this citizen wants to make other citizens be involved, so make them before the school budget. Make them stick around anyhow.
Number
On to
14, sign by law.
13/14.
Yes.
This one looks,
Which, this one, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not even gonna really look.
Again, I only put it in because you guys are mentioned in it. It is truly trivial changes to be consistent with definitions in the very first bylaw that define day and working day.
So it's just some.
So a working day is any day except a holiday, a Saturday, or a Sunday.
what about these highlights? Are these changes with the 60 and 90 days? Because I got, in my proposed, I got yellow highlights in here.
Yeah, and that's.
Yeah, that's it. We
It's
change,
gonna either be changed from days to working days or working days to days.
and from business days to working days.
No, I meant, in here I've got,
90 days.
there's days in here for like temporary, and
They
they're
have the town
highlighted.
clerk's
Yeah,
version
so
that
the
I
number
obtained.
isn't gonna change.
I got you.
Okay.
The
All
town
right.
clerk's
Okay,
version, which
the
I
number will
submitted
not
to the
change.
board.
See what I'm saying? Like, I got like this highlight,
That's where
Is
the
that a
verbiage was
change?
changed.
60,
Oh,
60.
yes, that's exactly what she did, so, because you don't have the red, what we call the red line version, which is how Word shows changes.
Yeah.
Deletions are in one
So she
color,
went through and
additions in another.
highlighted the
She-
change?
Yes, exactly, so that
Okay.
we actually made sure, oh, we missed one. But, or maybe that's, yeah, I'd have to go back and compare them or look at the red line version to see.
But it should say days, not working days, or.
Or vice
Usually,
versa.
usually it's all, usually it's days when it's less, when it's more than a week, and it's working days when it's less than 7 days.
How come this one here is 15 working days?
Because that one was a specific case that we thought through.
And for me, I think I don't agree, and it should go back to business.
Well, business is working. It's from business days was the original wording to 15 working days. There, we have a definition of working days, we do not have a definition of business days. So it's
Days,
it's
working days, and general provisions. Then bring back 5-day weeks for the town of Rutland, keep personnel. No more 4s, or 4.5, or whatever. Sorry, Dave, you're already working 5 days a week anyways. So gotta keep up with Dave.
And anyway, that's the only change
Uh,
in the sign bylaws.
No, I have one right here. This is the very next page, page 1, page 107, Article 10, signs. I wrote on here, getting an arrest warrant for the town of Rutland officials. Right off the bat, 1.0.1, to promote the safety of the user of a...
Wait a minute. Okay, we have not reviewed the sign bylaw yet.
Well, I'm telling you right now.
We haven't even
No,
thought.
we are not making changes to the signs bylaw, other than for
Then-
consistency of definitions.
It's not even on our agenda.
And then I will then try to get somebody to enforce this law.
So let me rephrase
Good
that.
luck with that.
You're not changing any of the content, you're changing how it's formatted and then just the working days.
Signs, we're not even doing formatting. That is the formatting of the.
Yeah, I know, it
code.
doesn't match what the rest of them are.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking.
That's right.
We haven't done
We are
anything to
not, we
signs.
have not
Okay.
started the
Other than-
modification.
Look,
That's because they were so good when we wrote
to
it
get
first time.
consistency
Okay.
between working days, business. That's it. That's
Let's go to 15.
Okay, yes, please.
Moving on.
Before you go to 15,
Well, anyways, I'm saying,
Finalize
what is
14.
there for crying out loud, if you get a chance to read that, and then put in the back of your mind, the town sign on the common. You talk about something being illegal, the safety,
That's distracting drivers from seeing the pedestrians.
exactly. Visual competition, obstruction, and impeding pedestrian and vehicular circulation.
Here's the beauty, is the sign that's a town sign doesn't have to follow any bylaw.
Before we go to 15. I
I'm
just wanna-
sorry, but it's also on state property, therefore.
I just want to make sure that,
That must be
Fixed.
their problem.
They won't even do
Yes.
it.
just want to make sure that the conversation we're having here is sufficient to get information to Peter, that no other correspondence is necessary to do that.
I believe we're fine. Thank
Thank you.
And now, item 15.
15, really simple, I'll be very quick here. So, working with the Agricultural Commission and the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, the planning office applied for a grant to create a grading system for lands that are a grading system to be used by the Conservation Commission when they evaluate requests to take land out of chapter. So depending on what they come up with, they may be able to make a recommendation to say that the land should not come out of chapter because it grades at a certain number, which is a rational basis for making a recommendation.
Did he say conservation?
Agricultural Commission, it's very late, I
you.
apologize.
We meant AgCom.
I
Okay,
meant
It's fine.
AgCom.
all right.
So
Okay,
that's,
now I'm good.
so the grant was awarded to the town. We'll start work as soon as the workload is.
As soon as we buy Ridge
defined.
Road.
And that's what I have on that one, thank you.
That's good.
Was there anything we'll be doing moving forward on that, or you need help with anything on that one?
This is primarily working with a planner assigned from the Regional Planning Commission. Who'll be working with planning staff, myself, and the Agricultural Commission.
Okay.
So there's nothing really from the planning board, I don't believe. We may wanna have an information session for the planning board as follow-up in case you're interested or have any thoughts or other.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like to see the
know.
Excel spreadsheet that was partially done. She did a great job, now she's in the clerk's office, of getting us didn't she get us a 61A layout of all the properties in Excel at one time, but she didn't have 61, no, she did 61 A and B, but she didn't have APR land, that's one she didn't have.
Correct.
So there's one already existing, Dave, that the assessor did in Excel that listed the properties and what chapter they were in, but she didn't have the APR lands. That's the one thing she didn't have.
Right, so I guess that'll be, I'll make sure that this.
Just, it's information
aware of
for you that it's
because-
done.
Yeah, exactly, that's good, yeah, that's great.
That's it.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to.
We already did, hours ago.
Yes.
Second, third. April 12th is gonna be
Who
the-
made the motion?
I made the motion
And I second it.
and she seconded it.
Okay. In favor?
And thanks, Leah, for hanging in there.